The Jake Asman Show will begin shortly. Thanks to all these great Patreon members who help support the show. Get your SuperChats ready. Jake will be here in just a moment. If you love the New York Jets, this is the place to be. And now, the Jake Asman Show.
Well, the Jets lose again. Gee, who could have saw that happening?
Please subscribe and hit the like button below.
Super Chat, baby. Cut the line.
Now it's time to talk all things New York Jets. It's the Jake Asman Show.
Here we go, Jet fans. Welcome in, everybody. Death, taxes, and the Jets losing. Jets lose. Jets lose. Jets lose. What else is new? The month might have changed. It's a new month, but the same result happened that we saw in November and October and September. And the New York Jets have now clinched a 9th straight losing season. 9 years of not finishing with a winning record. 14 seasons of not making the playoffs, which will remain the longest drought in North American sports. But hey, we moved up a spot in the Tankathon standings. What a joke. Jets now slated to pick 5th. In a year we all thought, at the bare minimum, they'd at least be 9-8, have a winning season. They'd sneak into the playoffs at the bare minimum. Nope. This team today allowed Seattle to score 19 unanswered. The Jets, who at one point in this game were up 21-7 and driving down the field with a chance to lead 28-7, somehow, some way, blew this game. And really, we could break down this game and we could talk about how the coaching staff remains horrible. We know this. We could talk about how this regime needs to be cleaned out. And guess what? They're going to be. Ownership already gave up on the year. They already announced plans on who's going to be hiring the next general manager and head coach. But the one thing we didn't know for sure, I think we had an idea, but we didn't know for sure, is Aaron Rodgers here next year, right? That was the one thing that I think was still up in the air. Felt like it was unlikely he'd be here. But with 6 games left, if he played well down the stretch, perhaps he would be the quarterback next year because a new regime would come in, assess their options, and go, you know what? For 1 year of Rodgers, we could have him be our bridge quarterback, and then maybe we draft someone behind him that doesn't have to play right away. But I'm sorry. As someone who's been a big Rodgers guy and thinks it was the right move to bring him in, it obviously has not worked out. You cannot watch this game today and tell me you want Aaron Rodgers as the quarterback next year. You can't do it. And once again, these losses are never just on one player. But the biggest moment of this game today was the sequence in the red zone with the Jets driving and up 21-7 when he missed a wide open Garrett Wilson that would have gave the Jets a 28-7 lead. And then on the next play, the very next play, he throws a pick 6 that's returned 92 yards by Leonard Williams because, of course, the old Aaron Rodgers doesn't do that. But now, with him about to turn 41 tomorrow, he's old Aaron Rodgers, and that's what he does. The bottom line is, well, the Jets being 3-9 is certainly not all on Aaron Rodgers. Given his age, given the fact there's a new GM and a new coach coming in, and the salary cap ramifications being what they are, he can't be the quarterback next year unless he would take a substantial pay cut. And even then, you could argue it just makes sense to cut your losses and move forward. And I think that's what's going to end up happening. I mean, this team is 3-9. And you look at the stat line Rodgers produced today, 21 of 39, 185 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. Andy Dalton could do that next year as the bridge quarterback. Jameis Winston could do that next year as the bridge quarterback. Tyrod on your team right now could do that next year as the bridge quarterback, if that's the direction this new regime wants to go with. It's sad, but it's true. Rodgers has now had 3 games in a row where he didn't eclipse 200 passing yards. He's not what he was. That we know, but it's not getting better. And I held out hope that he'd get healthy over the bye week, and I think in the first half, he definitely looked healthier. He moved around. He extended plays better than he had. He even threw a lead block on that trick end-around play to Malachi Corley. But there are just too many throws where the accuracy is not there. And we thought his mind and his arm would always be there, even if the mobility coming off this Achilles injury would not be. And now, with him not on the injury report for the first time since week 4, he went out there today and just didn't play well. He started hot, and then it was more of what we have seen. So I could give you the rant on how bad Jeff Ulbrich and this coaching staff is, how stupid this team can be, how poorly coached they are. You know all this. The one thing we were looking at, though, is could this quarterback, now seemingly healthy, his words, play well down the stretch and at least make it a real debate what the direction is? I don't think there is a debate. I don't think you could bring him back. If Aaron Rodgers is here next year, the $49 million in dead cap you would owe if you moved on after this year, it then becomes $63 million in 2026. And even if you were to spread it out over 2 years, it's $21 million in 26, $42 million in 2027. What new general manager wants to come in and say, yep, I'll bring in Aaron Rodgers for 1 more year, and then I'll mess up my salary cap in 2027 for $42 million against it? It's not going to happen. It's just not. We have to accept it is what it is. The guy's going to be 41 tomorrow. And he looked like a 40-year-old quarterback today. He looked like a 41-year-old quarterback today. And once again, it's not just Rodgers. He's not the only reason why this team is 3-9. But ultimately, what I was looking to see down the stretch was him potentially playing better to make this a real debate. I don't think it's a debate right now. You can't bring him back. You can't. That said, if you want to talk about this game, he's not the only reason why they lost today. I mean, the Jets had 12 penalties in this game. 8 of them in the fourth quarter. I mean, it was a joke. 12 penalties for 83 yards. 8 of them in the fourth quarter. 89 penalties on the year. Poor clock management by Jeff Ulbrich. What are you doing at the end of the first half with 3 timeouts in your pocket? Jeff, you're 3-8. Try and get some points before the end of the first half. What do you have to lose? He is so unqualified to be a head coach. I mean, this game was just one of those games that just represents why this team is so bad. The lack of discipline, the brutal penalties, poor quarterback play, drops, bad clock management, all of it. I mean, once the Jets got the 21 points, which, by the way, where's this kid on the kickoffs been all year? He's been on their team all year on the practice squad, and they wait till December to promote this guy? Are you kidding me? Shout out to him, whose name I'm not even going to try to pronounce because I'm going to botch it. Kane, and then it's spelled Nwangu. GW. Shout out to him. 99-yard kickoff return. That was awesome. Where's this been all year? Poor coaching. Another example. I mean, this game was just a microcosm of what being a fan of this team has been like this year. There were a couple drives early where Rodgers and this offense, they looked like the team we thought they were going to be this year. And then the other team they're playing adjusts, and they do nothing. The defense folds when it matters, and this team beats itself with stupid, undisciplined penalties. That's the season. That's why, instead of still being alive and competing for a wild card spot, they're 3-9, and we're talking about a 9th straight losing season. Once the Jets got to 21 points today, here were their next possessions. Pick 6, turnover on downs, punt, end of the half where Ulbrich botched it with the timeouts. Then here were the 4 drives in the second half. Punt, Breece Hall fumble, which was brutal, and he's got to fix it. I love you, Breece, but you got to be better there. He should have had 2 in this game. He got lucky. Simpson recovered the other one. Punt, and then the turnover on downs at the end. I mean, this is who the Jets are. They're bad teams. Bad teams find ways to lose. See, the Chiefs, they always find ways to win. And the Jets are the Chiefs in reverse. They're the opposite. They always find ways to lose. I mean, the Jets this year have had the lead 4 times in the fourth quarter. They've lost all those games. The Jets have lost 4 games this season in which they blew fourth quarter leads. If that was just half, right? 2 more wins right now. They're in the mix. If they had a kicker, they're in the mix. But you know what? They're a bad team. A bad team that is poorly coached. That's just a bunch of guys that do have some talent. And every once in a while, you do see it. But you cannot overcome the coaching. And the biggest problem is this quarterback can no longer overcome the environment that is around him. See, great quarterbacks can deal with mistakes around them because they'll be able to nullify a lot of it. I've always said that having a franchise quarterback is like having like deodorant. Like it erases the stench of a lot of other problems you might have. You still have problems, but a great quarterback can overcome it. And Rodgers is not that guy. And in fact, a lot of games, he's not even average. There's been times where he has been average, but then the kicking fails him or the defense fails him. So at times it's been everything. But ultimately, this team needs a total restart, a reboot. They need a new head coach, that we know. They obviously need a new general manager. And the only thing that truly matters now is who those people are going to be. Because it's not going to be Jeff Obrick or Phil Savage who have those jobs on an interim basis right now. And now you're just talking about playing out the string. 5 games to go. You know the Jets are going to win at least one of them because it'd be too easy for them to lose out. And we'll see where they end up picking. I mean, that's where we're at. As sad as it is, that is where we're at. I'm not going to scream and yell and let this game affect my mood the entire week. I thought the Jets would lose today. And you know what? I started to think maybe they're actually going to win this game when they were driving up 21-7. But then the pick 6 happens and the Jets remind you who they are. And when someone reminds you who they are, believe them. And the Jets have done it all year. They are a bad football team. That's what they are. It's not just because of Aaron Rodgers. It's not just because of the lack of kicking. It's not just because of the defense. It's not just because of Woody Johnson. The collection of everything put together is how you're 3-9. And that's where we're at right now. This is a bad football team. Really bad. And it's a shame because while they are a bad football team, I still honestly do believe there are some really good football players that are on this bad football team. And I think you saw some of that today. Sauce Gardner, I thought, played a great game today. He did an awesome job in coverage against one of the tougher assignments in the league in DK Metcalf. The one big completion he gave up for 28 yards, he was with him step for step, and give credit to Gino. He made a great throw there. Sauce played really well today. That was encouraging. Quincy Williams was great today. Quinnen was great today. There are still pieces on this team. I don't know about you guys, but Olu Fashanu played his ass off at left tackle. Michael Nania said that he had 42 pass blocking snaps. He didn't allow a single pressure. He's going to be good. John Simpson's a good guard. Tippmann's a solid center. AVT's a solid right guard. You have 4 fits of your O-line in place for this next regime. You have a legit star in Garrett Wilson who they need to get the ball to more. And that's on Aaron. He missed him on the bomb to start this game today. A better throw. He has Garrett in stride. And he should have had a touchdown, a walk-in touchdown on a nasty double move that would have put him up 28-7. You have him. I know Brees has had his issues, but Brees still is a game-changing type of player. There's pieces here, but they're not coached, and they need to get better coaching, and they could be competitive next year. I mean, this team still has talent on it, which is why, on one hand, it is infuriating that they're 3-9, but on the other, it's why this job I don't think is as bad as maybe some make it out to be. But you need to bring in the right people to fix this. It's the only way it gets better. The only way. But it is very frustrating to lose today. But I'm not giving you the screaming and the yelling because you know what? At the end of the day, this team has shown you time and time after time, who they are. Believe them. They're not good. And, if they lose out, it is what it is. They win some games here or there, it is what it is. There's a new regime coming in, and the decisions they make to reshape this franchise, that's the only thing that matters. Because there's really nothing to look forward to with this season remaining. That's it. They're 3-9. Just brutal. I mean, how ridiculous were some of these penalties this team took today? It's just, if you don't laugh, you'll cry. It's sad. It's sad. I still care way too much. And this game means nothing. Nothing. This team's bad. If they won today, it wouldn't mean anything. Oh, they're 4-8. It's just, it is sad that we are here. But ultimately, we know what this team is. They have shown you who they are all year. Believe them. They're a bad football team. But you look at what was on the line today. Aaron Rodgers' future, I still felt was up in the air if he played well down the stretch. They don't have a GM. They don't have a coach. Let them decide. But we got to sit here and acknowledge what we're seeing. We're watching a 41-year-old quarterback who looks every bit his age. 21 of 39 today, 185 yards. Couldn't break 200 yards passing for the third game in a row. He moved a little better today, but now the accuracy is not there. You can't justify with his cap ramifications bringing him back. That's the takeaway from today, if there is any big picture takeaway. It's that Rodgers, we thank him for coming here. He tried to do the right thing. He took the pay cut. Tried to lead this team last year when he got hurt. He's just not what he was. And this team was not the team he was supposed to have. But now, that's in the past. It is what it is. You can't change that. We don't have to act like the Jets can't find someone who could put up Rodgers' stat line today. They can. And once again, while not all on him, one possession game in the fourth quarter, Aaron Rodgers had the ball. This is now the fifth time that's happened with a chance to go win the game. And they haven't won any of the games. The Denver game, we could say Zerline missed the kick, which is true, but it's not like Rodgers played great in that game before then. He was getting his you-know-what kicked in. It was a 50-yard kick Zerline missed. He didn't get it done in London. I was unfortunately there. He didn't get it done against the Bills on Monday night. Had the ball late against Indy, didn't get it done. I mean, at some point, you got to come through. And it's not because he's not trying. It's because he's 40, now going to be 41 tomorrow. And that's unfortunately where we're at. So the Jets lose 26-21. Seattle scores 19 unanswered. Jets, who haven't scored 30 all year, had 21 points at halftime, and then they don't score again. It is truly remarkable. But then you remember, it's the Jets we're talking about. Expect it. Comments, questions, super chats, they cut the line. We're presented today by Joe DeVizio Realty. Sellwithjoe.com. Jet fans, if you're thinking about selling your home, if you really have any question involving your home, Joe and his team are the best at what they do. The number to call Joe is up there on the screen. It's 959-CALL-JOE or the website sellwithjoe.com. Joe and his team are the best in the tri-state area at helping you with your home. If you're behind on payments, they can help you with that. If your house needs repairs, they can help you with that. If you're dealing with squatters or a bad tenant, Joe and his team can help you with that. If you're selling your home, if you're thinking about selling your home, give Joe and his team a call, and they will walk you through what you need to know about your situation. Joe and his team can sell any property, any place, anytime, and they will get you top dollar. Check out Joe's real estate website in my description box, or as you see there on the screen, give Joe a call tomorrow at 959-CALL-JOE. We also are presented today by our other incredible post-game sponsor. That's Custom Bourbon Tours. I need a vacation after this Jet season. So do you. Go to CustomBourbonTours.com. Experience an unforgettable day on the Kentucky Bourbon Trail at CustomBourbonTours.com. Liam is the founder of the company. He's a native New Yorker. He's a diehard Jet fan. So support his business and set yourself up with a beautiful, beautiful vacation, whether it be in January or whether it be at some point this offseason. You go to the website and you'll see. You pick the distilleries that you want to visit, and they're going to set you up in an SUV, a Sprinter, a bus, maybe a Charles Gorman Uber perhaps, and you could book an unforgettable experience all in 5 minutes online. CustomBourbonTours.com. You guys have seen me drink some of the bourbon that they have sent me from Custom Bourbon Tours. It's tremendous stuff. So if you're a bourbon fan like I am and you've never been to the Kentucky Bourbon Trail, CustomBourbonTours.com is the place to set up your tour of the awesome Kentucky Bourbon Trail. Shout out to CustomBourbonTours.com for being a part of our postgame show all season long. All right, let's get to some Super Chats. Gustbuster Umbrella Hotline is open. Hit the like button if you're tuned in right now. We got over 1,200 in here. Thanks to everyone who heard me on ESPN New York for a quick 90-minute show from 4 to 5:30. So let's get to some Super Chats. NYJ starts us off here. He says, great loss for the great cause. Time to focus on the new GM coach and arm them with a high draft pick. Then comes the quarterback and winning culture, hopefully. Look, if you want to talk about losing to get a better pick, it is what it is. How you root has no impact on things. I wanted to see this team win today. You know, I don't want these young players to get used to losing. But it is what it is. There's a new regime coming in. What you don't want is this team quitting. And that's the one thing you could say. They didn't quit today. But, you know, what happens next week on the road in Miami? You know, you look at the schedule. There's 5 games to go. In Miami next week. In Jacksonville. Rams at Buffalo, home Miami. I believe that is the schedule. I know those are the opponents. I think I got the order right. I might be off with what I said. I mean, other than Jacksonville, the Jets are not going to be a favorite against any of these teams they play. If I had to pick a game for them to win, I'd love to stick it to Miami next week. I would. But who knows? Joe the Jet writes in, I'm sick of our players overperforming on other teams. I mean, it is what it is, Joe. I get it. Leonard Williams, though, I mean, he it's not like he went from the Jets to the Seahawks. He went to the Giants in between. And Geno, I mean, Geno's played on how many teams before he finally got to Seattle? Am I missing anyone else? I guess Jason Myers had a huge kick today, but, you know, that was a Mike McCagnon mistake years ago. Robert writes in, watch us ruin our draft pick when we beat the Jags. Yeah, I mean, look, expect the Jets to probably win another game or two. I mean, I know I am. Joe says we need to draft a quarterback. They do, but you don't want to force a quarterback. You don't just take a quarterback for the sake of taking a quarterback. You need a new regime to come in and actually believe in the guy they're picking. Alfredo says Herbert equals Tua equals 0 playoff wins. I'll tell you what, either one of them right now is better than what we have, though, especially Herbert. Big fella. When did Rodgers start staring down receivers and forcing throws to Devontae? Old Rodgers would never do that. I mean, the problem is, old Rodgers would never do that, but now he's just old Rodgers. He's 41. Big fella, thanks for calling the radio show tonight, too. Tyler writes, and I pray for a season next year isn't our vocab. Yeah, I mean, it's depressing on December 1st to talk about the draft and to talk about the coach and GM. This year has hurt more than any other year. Any other year. I mean, they have beaten me, man. I was numb watching this in the second half today. The old Jake Asman, we're talking about the old Aaron Rodgers, the old Jake Asman would be flipping a you-know-what. They've beaten it out of me. I can't scream and yell right now. If I do that, I'd show more passion than some members of this team have shown this year. Trey says, coaching matters. Get someone like Rex or Vrabel. I mean, Mike Vrabel remains my number one choice. This team needs a disciplinarian, a culture setter, someone to come in that's no nonsense, that can hold guys accountable. This organization needs a total reset. This is the closest the Jets have been to where they were in 96. And then, obviously, it changed quickly when they hired Bill Parcells. That's where we're at right now. You know, you look at the 96 Jets, they won a single game. And then they went 9-7 the next year. Why? Coaching. A lot of those players were still on the team a year later. And that's why I think when they eventually hire a new GM and coach, this is not a full-on rebuild. You tear it all down. Yeah, you need to figure out quarterback. There's no doubt. But we've seen that with good coaching, you can be competitive every year no matter who your quarterback is. And not every opening has a number one receiver in place and a really good running back in place and 4/5 of your offensive line in place. And an all-pro corner and a elite nickel corner and, a really good edge rusher and Will McDonald. And Jermaine's going to be back next year. And Quinnen is still obviously, one of the better defensive tackles in the league. Quincy's unreal. Like, there's some really good players still on this team. But it's a rudderless operation right now. Shout out to Nikki James, who became a channel member. Nikki, thank you. Just a reminder for those who are into, Black Friday, Cyber Monday. If you join the Patreon right now, we're offering 25% off all merch items through Cyber Monday tomorrow. So midnight tomorrow, jakeasman.com, get your merch. It's 25% off if you want to join the Patreon. In fact, if you join by the end of today, your name could still be added to the countdown ticker for the month of December. I have not sent Gator the list of new names just yet. Felix with a super chat. We need to just continue to move forward and try to get the best GM and coach in here. We have talent. We just need proper coaching. Yeah, they don't have a quarterback, but they do have talent. But, you can't tell me that this team can't be competitive next year with the right coaching. Not saying it's going to be easy, but, in the past, you look at the Jets, and it feels like they're really, really far away from having like a good roster. They have a good roster, I believe, in a lot of key areas. They just don't have any coaching. I've never seen a team that's coached this bad, ever. And I watched every snap of the 2020 season with Adam Gase. Robert says, I'd rather see Jordan Travis start rest of the season. Robert, Jordan Travis is not healthy. Fiore says, the GM/head coaching hire are going to be massive. You could feel this fan base ready to implode. Vrabel or Gruden are the clear choices at head coach. Look, John Gruden is an interesting name. John Gruden, though, is not my number one choice. He hasn't coached in several years. It's not like with the Raiders he was having tremendous success either. Mike Vrabel, I think, is so far ahead of John Gruden. Peter Castro, red line, win, add excuses. Yeah, I mean, Rodgers won't be here next year, Peter. He hasn't played well enough. He's not the only reason why they're 3-9, but a new GM's going to come in, assess the salary cap ramifications, and they're not going to keep Aaron Rodgers. They're just not. I mean, let's be real. Tony writes in, Carter Warren and Vera Tucker were awful. Well, I mean, Carter Warren is only playing because Morgan Moses got hurt. I'd have to watch the film on AVT to see how he played. Mr. Magoo writes in, Quinn yours. I mean, maybe. I don't think Quinn is necessarily a guy I would take in the first round, but if he's there on day 2 and they want to take someone, I'm all right. I like Jalen Milroe if they're going to take a quarterback, maybe not in the top 10, but end of the first round if they could trade him. He's got all the physical traits of someone that could be good if he doesn't play right away. I mean, he was awesome yesterday against Auburn watching that game. But I don't think I would take him in the top 10. I'm picking the best player available in the top 10. If it happens to be a quarterback, then all right, we'll have the conversation. But I'm not there just yet. Hit the like button if you're just tuning in. More importantly, if you're one of the 1,200 people watching this show, thank you for the support. You guys make this channel what it is. We hit over 40,000 subscribers last month, which is a huge number. We're trying to get to 50K. Hopefully we get there at some point in the offseason. We're at 40,434. So if you could subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, I will certainly appreciate that. I'm going to post the Gusbuster hotline link in the chat for those of you to call in and be a part of the show. But ladies and gentlemen, I can't believe my eyes right here. Even on a day this fan base is down in the dumps, the great Dark Knight Steve comes through with, how about this, 20 channel membership.
Oh, yeah. You know what time it is. You tried to throw him away, but this man's coming back. Sometimes he's fat or thin. That waistband makes him slim. He's got the fix you need. They call him sexy. Rexy.
Fuck Gruden, he's no Jet. I'm here to crack some skulls. I'll turn these boys to men. This team is stacked with pros. Hire me, it won't break your purse. I'm here to break the curse. They call me Sexy Rexy. Fuck all you naysayers.
Ooh, sexy. Ooh, he's sexy, Rexy, sexy. Ooh, he's sexy, Rexy, sexy. He's sexy, Rexy, sexy. He's sexy, Rexy.
Oh my God, are you kidding me? 20 memberships. Had to give people a little sexy Rexy. Hopefully that brought a smile to someone's face on a nightmare day for the New York Jets. If you're new around here, when we get 20 memberships or more gifted at a time, not only do we laugh, but we also talk about our reigning memberships. There we go. 20 names. Let's read them off. Thank you to Steve for supporting the channel, man. If you hear your name called, you are a channel member. Here we go. Rick, Luis, Johnny Dank, Steve V, Frank, Esteban, Jonathan Idrovo, Andrew Kennedy, Thanks, Ernest Duncan, Christian Moyano, Rob L, Ryed Syed, Matt P, CLS Smooth 512, Robert Heinen, Noel Negron, Joel Eidelberg. Speaking of Rich, Rex Ryan just got a membership. Congrats to all 20 of our members. Steve, you're the man, dude. Thank you for the contribution. 20 channel memberships, just like that. All right, we'll get to your calls coming up here shortly. Hit the like button if you're tuning in. Let me get caught up on some super chats here. If you're just tuning in, by now you know the Jets lost, but what else is new? Felix says, with the right coach, we can get a bridge QB and work on getting the long-term quarterback this year or next year. Yeah, look, I mean, there's two things you need in the NFL to have any chance. You need a coach, you need a quarterback. Right now, this team doesn't have either. It's easier said than done, but obviously there's some guys out there that I think would be immediate upgrades. Mike Vrabel, Brian Flores, Pete Carroll. I think the Jets need to strongly consider. I know Carroll's older, but I'm sorry. I don't care if he's 73. The guy runs around the sideline like he's in his 50s. He'd change the culture overnight if he'd be interested. Hire a good staff. Get this franchise back on track. I don't think it'd be the worst idea. Flores, I like. Brooklyn guy. 2 winning seasons in Miami. Should not have been fired. I think he's learned from his relationship with Tua at the end there. Right? He had a year with Tomlin. He's had 2 years as a DC now in Minnesota. I think he deserves another chance. And then Vrabel is my number one. I don't know if he'd take this job, but you got to talk to him. Nick with a super chat. How would you feel about taking a flyer on Justin Fields next year? Yeah, if you tell me if Fields is the bridge, okay. Fine. I don't hate it. Hey, William Sprague is in the house. Thanks again to all the Jet fans who helped my wife in her fight with a devastating disease. Already have spent almost $150K out of pocket as there's no cure. Thanks again and see you all soon. Hey, William, let's do this right now. We've been sharing the link to the GoFundMe on the show and in the Discord. William's a longtime viewer of this YouTube show. Great guy. Always gives a ton of memberships. He's going through a tough time, of course, with his wife. I just posted the GoFundMe link in the live comments. So if you have the means to donate, please contribute and support William and his wife, who are going through a very tough time. NYJ says, have a left tackle while going into the quarterback hunt. Yeah, I mean, I know Brock Bowers has been awesome this year. Let's remember what the debate was. Can the Jets justify taking a tight end in the top 10 when they have a glaring need at left tackle? And you could say, well, I had Tyron Smith, Jake. Well, Tyron Smith wasn't any good, and now he's done for the year. I think Olu's going to be really good. So if you hit on Olu Fashanu at left tackle, I think it was still the right pick, even if Bowers ends up being, a Pro Bowl tight end. I think the Jets' record with Brock Bowers would be 3-9. The Raiders stink with Brock Bowers. I think a couple things could be true. It was the right move to take Olu, and Brock Bowers is a really good player. I didn't think the Jets could justify that risk. I like Olu Fashanu. I think he's good. I think he played really well today. It's encouraging. Tyler says, fans viewing Rex through beer goggles. He ruined us after 09 and 10. Given control over the roster, ran into the ground. This quarterback class is dog water. I mean, I like Rex. I think we need to know who the coaching staff around Rex would be. I asked Mike Tannenbaum about this when I hosted the Michael K show with Ty Butler on Friday. Check out that interview on my channel. I posted it if you missed it. Rex is going to get an interview. But one of the questions you have to ask Rex is, what have you learned since you haven't coached? What's going to be different this time around, and what's your plan for the offensive staff? His son is a receivers coach on the Lions. Can he bring someone with him from Ben Johnson's coaching staff in Detroit? Bo writes in, it's impressive that we have coaches watching the same game as us and still get it wrong in historical fashion. Let it end already. Huh. I mean, how perfect was the end of that first half? Jeff Ober keeping 3 timeouts in his pocket when the team's 3-8. I mean, how perfect was that? Allison says, I would like the new coach to be Rex. I get it. Rex has a lot of supporters. PBM writes in, when you think we can't be a bigger embarrassment. I mean, Mike, it was a bad loss, but like, embarrassment? Like, Seattle's a better team than the Jets. Embarrassing was losing to Jacoby Brissett in Foxborough. Embarrassing has been like everything leading up to this team being 3-8 in the first place. I'm almost numb to a game like today. I really am. Comments, questions, super chats, cut the line. Hit the like button if you're just tuning in. We'll get to your calls momentarily here on the Gusbuster hotline. Once again, for those tuning in late, Jets did move up a spot in the Tankathon standings. This is before the conclusion of the late window games. Jets are 3-9. They're picking 5 right now. Due to a weaker strength of schedule, they're in front of the Titans, despite the fact they have a head-to-head win over the Titans. Isn't that stupid, by the way, how the NFL does that? If I'm a Titans fan, I'm saying, wait a second. They beat us. Why are they picking in front of us? But we'll take it. Felix, super chat, cuts the line. We need to bring back Moses and draft a right tackle because Warren isn't the long-term answer. I'd look to bring back Morgan Moses, depending on what he wants. They definitely need to find a long-term answer at right tackle, though. I mean, Morgan's a warrior playing through injuries all year. Let's say hello to James B. He starts us off on the Gusbuster hotline. James, what do you got for us?
If you can.
James?
Hit him. If we aim at the same guy.
James, thanks for wasting all of our time playing video games on the air. Tremendous. The Hamburger is up next. Hey, Hamburger.
Hey, what's up, Jake? How you doing?
I'm hanging in, Hamburger. How are you?
Hanging in there. Got all the Christmas ornaments done this weekend. Watch a little football today. Listen, we went into this game with our focus mainly on watching Aaron Rodgers. Really, when it came down to it, and to see what Aaron Rodgers was going to do and how he's going to perform. He came out first half. He was okay. He showed some signs of mobility, getting out of the pocket, made a few plays, but that missing that throw to Wilson in the end zone was a killer, man. And then throwing that pick six. Oh, that ball was deflected, right? Pretty sure that was. I think it was.
He didn't see Leonard Williams there, though. Like, he clearly didn't see him. And it's just like Aaron Rodgers of old doesn't make that throw. Old Aaron Rodgers, which is what he is now at 41 tomorrow, he makes those throws. He's not the same guy. It's sad, but it's true.
I'm not making any excuses for him tonight. I don't care about the win. What I saw tonight was an old quarterback. Really, I saw an old quarterback. It didn't change my mind about him coming back next year. I'm still on the fence. There's still 5 games left, but what I seen tonight didn't make me want to keep him next year. That's for sure. And coaching is the coaching. What we've been dealing with all year, not calling those timeouts when you have more than a minute on the clock left and your defense is stopping them. You don't call the timeouts and you end up getting the ball back with 6 seconds. I mean, it's just inexperience in coaching. It's what we all thought. I didn't go into this game thinking we were going to win. I want to win. I'm rooting for it. But listen, it is what it is. We just look at what we have and try to, you just got to see Stiggers tonight for the first time, a little more of Corley, a little more of some of the guys that we've never seen. So maybe there's a couple gems inside of the guys that we can rotate in and out to see what we got next year for coaches coming in and putting some things on tape. But other than that, man, it is what it is. Take every week and just focus on certain players and see where we can go. We're not, like I said, I said it after Steelers, 4-13. And I'm sticking to that if we get another win, man. I don't know. it's tough. I feel bad for any Jet fan that thought we were going to go and win it out the rest of the way. It's not going to happen. Just take it as it is, and don't get too pissy. Let's see what this franchise can do, and get a GM in here and a coach in here, and see where we go next year, man. Just week by week. Only 5 games left, Jake. 5.
That's it. I
5
mean,
games.
look, somehow there's 5 weeks left, Hamburger. Amen. It's tough. It really is. It's just the amount of things that have happened this year, and then it's like, wow, there's still 5 weeks to go. And now at 9 losses, it's like you already clinched a losing season. So, like, for those of you holding out hope, hey, 9-8 is still possible. And now it's like, now what? The one thing to watch is, now that they're mathematically eliminated, I guess not technically, but let's be real, they're 3-9. Do they sit Rodgers down? Do they play Tyrod? I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't play Tyrod. I don't see the point. Tyrod's got an injury history. What if he gets hurt? If you're playing his bridge quarterback Tyrod, why play him out? Why put him in a game where he can get hurt again? I don't know. Does it really matter? I'd rather just Rodgers just play out the string. It is what it is. Sad, but that's where we're at. Matthias wants to know, if the Jets were a band, what would they be called? This might be more interesting than talking about this game. Oh, the pain. The New York Jets. Like the video if you're just tuning in. Jets lose 26-21. At one point, they were up 21-7 with the ball driving. Aaron Rodgers, wide open. Garrett Wilson, incomplete. Next play, pick 6. Game completely flipped. Brutal. Jets football, baby. Experience pain. And of course, it's Leonard Williams. It's funny because Leonard Williams on the previous drive committed a huge face mask penalty on 3rd down where the Jets would have had to punt. Rodgers took a sack that knocked him out of field goal range, but then they got a new set of downs and they ended up scoring a touchdown. And then Leonard made up for it because he blocked the PAT and then he had the pick 6. Go figure. Tyrone is up next on the Gusbuster hotline. Hey, Tyrone.
What up, Jake, my nigga? Hey, this is hilarious, man. Only a J-E-T-N fan could understand what's going on. You know, I was backstage for a minute. You know, I had to come out to Family Dollar to get some toilet paper because these Jets done shitted all over me this year. Just like they do every year, man. I've been a Jets fan since 1983, man. The pain and the anguish. We need some young coaches and shit like you. We need a general manager like you, man. You know what I'm saying? Somebody who fucking know how to be. Every year, wait a minute. Every year we know what to expect, Jake. Every year we know all we are is a quarterback away. Every year we know, oh, we got to get better in the middle and shit. We go draft Dwayne Robertson and people like that. Oh, you know, shit, we got a problem solved. We got pass rushers like Calvin Pace and John Abraham. And it still managed to fuck up, man. But, you know, stability is a strong word in the NFL. You know, I talk about creativity and all the coaching paths and shit, but stability is a strong word. You look at a coach like Mike Tomlin, you know, what? He ain't going nowhere. He might seem like he on the hot seat. We fire our coach in the middle. What? It wasn't.
Tyrone, we were losing there. You're losing you there. I appreciate it. I'm not qualified to be a GM or coach, but I'll tell you what I am qualified to do. Recognize when a team is poorly coached and recognize when a team mishandles their roster. And we have seen that. All our concerns about how Douglas handled the defensive line this offseason, we were right to have those concerns. our concerns about this coaching staff turned out to be true, and obviously it was expedited with the decision to fire Saleh 5 games in. I mean, what I am qualified to do is see the obvious. This team needs someone to come in and completely change the culture. And it's not easy to do. It's why I think you need to hire someone with experience, someone who's not learning on the job. Because I've said this. If you're the GM of the Seattle Seahawks, if you're the GM of the Houston Texans, if you're the GM of, here's another random team in the NFL, the Tennessee Titans. If you're the coach of those teams, there's pressure. There's scrutiny. It's not close to what you experience when you're dealing with the New York media market, when you're dealing with this fan base, the history that this organization has. It's a different level of pressure. When things go bad, it's noisy here. It gets loud, real loud. And it's not just the guys on the beat. The Jets have become a national punching line too. So you need someone that has done it before, that's not learning on the job. It's why I really value experience when it comes to these roles. I don't want a first-time coach who's never done it before. Unless you're telling me it's Ben Johnson, where you're finally going to get like the top offensive-minded candidate. Aaron Glenn, loved him as a Jet. Think he's really qualified to be a head coach. I can't hire a guy with a defensive background who's never been a coach before. Head coach. I can't do it. I got to pick from someone that's done the job before. Whether it's Vrabel, Flores, Rex, Gruden, Pete Carroll. If Stefanski somehow is fired, he'd be my number one guy. I cannot bring in someone who's learning on the job again. I don't think you could bring in someone to this situation that's learning on the fly. I don't think you could do it. Super chat from Bo. Nobody on the staff's qualified. Jake for head coach. I'll tell you what, if I was the head coach, we would have used our timeouts at the end of the first half. That, I promise you, would have been different today. I couldn't believe Ulbrich was just going to be satisfied going to the half and not at 3-8 trying to get the ball back to your offense, which up until that point, it actually moved the ball for a lot of the game. They stopped moving the ball after the pick six. That was it, right? They didn't score again. But until that point, the Jets had moved the football. Like, they looked like a functioning offense for most of that half, and we're just going to save 3 timeouts? Why? You're not going to keep them when you go to your new job as a linebacker coach of the Cardinals next year, Jeff Ulbrich. Brutal. Andrew Yale writes in, Jake, honest question, how quickly could we turn it around with the right GM and coach? We have talent. Give me hope. I mean, you see year-to-year turnarounds in the NFL. So, I mean, it can be turned around next year. I know people are going to be like, what? But it's true. Look at Washington. Look at Houston. Look at Denver. Detroit turned it around in 2 years, but at the end of year 1, you felt like they were headed in the right direction when they finished 8-9. After I think they were 1-5 to start that year, or 2-6. Like, we have been conditioned as Jet fans, these rebuilds, they take years. They really don't if you have the right people making the decisions. That's why it's astonishing that Joe Douglas was in his 6th year. 5 if you count drafts and free agency, right? Like 5th full year. And he lost 2/3 of his games. Like, this had to be the year they win. And, how could they fire? Are you kidding me? Has anyone paid attention? Like, the record's got to matter. Robert Saleh, 20-36. Like, coaching matters, man. Look at what you're seeing in Denver, Houston. Look at what you're seeing in Washington. Even Seattle, right? Like, Seattle it doesn't have like the greatest of rosters. Gino's a nice quarterback. He's serviceable. He's a good starter. And they're in the mix. The Cardinal, like, it doesn't need to take forever if you have the right infrastructure. So you want hope. The hope is that you can be one of those teams if you get it right. But, no one has any faith in Woody getting it right. You shouldn't. But even a blind squirrel does find a nut. The Knicks were a bigger mess than the Jets. And now the Knicks finally have the right people in charge. More of your calls right now. Let's say hello to Peter Castro Jr. What's up, Peter?
What's going on, Jake? How you doing today?
I'm good. Your dad called me on the radio, but they cut him off too early. I was up against it with a break.
Another Sunday. We were actually kind of happy in a certain way that Seattle won. I hate to say it, but at this point, what am I rooting for? I might as well. The way I'm looking at it is, the higher we can get in the draft, maybe the new regime will find the quarterback that they're looking for. That's what I'm hoping for, and we'll see how that goes. But I mean, look at today. You actually saw them come out with a little creativity, right? I saw Malachi Corley on a reverse. I saw a play where they put Brees in motion and went the other way. They kind of did some things that you came out and saw 14-0. Wow, this could be a runaway game. And then, like you said, you have that play that kind of is a 14-point swing, and you almost knew right then and there that this is going to go down that same path. And I was actually pretty good with it, because at this point, what are we winning for? I mean,
I'm indifferent. If they won, I'm not going to be upset. Like, great. It's better than losing, I guess. But if they lose, like, it is what it is. They're picking fifth right now. Can they get a little higher with some losses here and maybe be in range for a quarterback, as you said? It's possible. Like, it is what it is. Like, I was holding out hope that Rodgers was going to play well down the stretch because he's healthy. But what I saw today was more of the same. I saw a guy who didn't move a little bit, but then he was inaccurate when it mattered. And at the end of the day, like, I don't think a new regime's coming in saying we want Rodgers at age 41 as our quarterback. No way.
Yeah, no. I mean, he not only missed Garrett wide open, but he missed a lot of passes today, if you really looked.
He did.
And, I mean, a lot of my friends who are from Green Bay said, we knew this a couple of years ago. We didn't watch him every single day, but in that last season in Green Bay, if you go look, he threw picks, and they had a chance to make the playoffs at the end of the game, and they lost to Minnesota. He wasn't great then, and it's starting to show. Last year was like a lost year, so maybe we would have found this out a year earlier, possibly. But I think now it's like, who are we beating? Maybe Jacksonville, maybe. I don't think that we're beating the Rams. I don't think we're beating Miami, and I don't know if Buffalo's going to need that game or not, but I see one more win, possibly. That's it. What do you think?
Yeah, I think probably one more win, but knowing the Jets, Peter, would it shock you if they won a game they're not supposed to? Like, I would expect it. People will be mad, but that's what this franchise does. They could have won today. That's the thing. Outside of the Arizona game, they have not really been blown out of late. Indy came down to the last possession. It did. Houston, they won. New England came down to the last possession. Today came down to the last possession. They play Miami, Jacksonville, the Rams, Buffalo. Then Miami again. I think they're definitely winning at least one more game. I'd be surprised if they lost out. I'm not saying that'd be bad if they did. Like, it is what it is. I've accepted this season for what it is. It's the biggest disappointing season in the history of this franchise, in my opinion. But I expect the Jets to win another game. This is what they do. Ladies and gentlemen, the Lup Man has gifted a 5-spot of channel membership. All right, if you hear your name called, you thank Luppy for paying it forward. Mike Dem, Salvatore, Trice G, Aiken, and Chris K all receiving channel memberships. In fact, I'm seeing this right here. The Lup Man is actually on hold. So let's say hello to Luppy, who's up next on the Gusbuster.
Hey, how you doing, Jake? I laugh my ass off every single time you play that. I cannot stop laughing every time I see Bobby with it. That's classic.
I appreciate it.
I just got to say, wow. Another way to lose. Jesus. I mean, they just know how to just take your heart out and just rip it out every time. I mean, 50-something years I've been doing it. I can't even count anymore. I'm just so upset. But they find a new way. And you're like, oh my God, we're getting the breaks. And then all of a sudden, penalty. And the coaching, oh my God. The coaching was so horrible today. It was cringeworthy. And then at least you could see Seattle changing. and then running the ball, and you didn't think they were running the ball, and running for 8-9 yards, running up the gut, and then they finally stopped them. It's like we were watching, waiting for them to do something, and then reacting to it all the time. The coaching was horrible. I mean, we can turn it around with the right coach. We can. I know we can. And listen, Aaron Rodgers, for the first time, looked like, pretty good. He did, except for that freaking pick six that nobody wanted to tackle the guy. I mean, it was crazy. I'm just a little bit up in arms in that. And, and the coaching is both sides of the ball, too. It's everywhere. And we got a couple of breaks. We got breaks that we never get, and we still lose the game. It's like crazy. I mean,
I know. I've seen some bad Jet teams. This team's bad because of its coaching more than any other team I've seen. Like the 2020 team, Gase was a bad coach, but that roster was putrid. This team actually has some really good players on it, and it's evident by the fact they continue to be favorites in these games. It's evident by the fact they continue to have leads in the fourth quarter of these games. Then they fall apart because they're the worst coach team in football.
I know Woody screwed us so bad. But I mean, Sal was a bad coach, but not a horrible coach. And you pull out a coaching staff that's held together by a house of cards.
Yeah.
What the hell do you think is going to happen?
I mean, Woody listened to the fans, though. Let's not forget, every call I took from people for a year was fire Salah. He's the worst. He's terrible. Yeah. So, I mean, Woody listened, and
the Garys and Allen in your head sometimes, though, too. So,
I mean, and look, I wasn't necessarily against firing Salah in season. I just didn't think it would happen.
Give him a fair shake. Give him a couple more games. I mean, that was
that's what I thought was going to happen. But they made their decision. It backfired. But they weren't going to go anywhere with this head coach anyway if he even stayed. So, like, the bottom line is this season, unfortunately, was doomed from the beginning because this coach was not good enough to overcome, some of the issues that did actually end up existing. Like, no one could have predicted Zerline being what he was or Tyron Smith being shot and just a bunch of things that you never could have anticipated going into the year.
You know what I did anticipate? I said, I'm going to sit down. I'm going to watch this game, and my heart's going to be ripped out. And then I start watching. I'm like, no, we might win. And then, bang, here it is. Boom, 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 boom. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I believe every game. Jet fan, bleed green.
I get it. Look, it's tough, Fluffy, but
thanks for the therapy.
5 games left, man. And thanks for buying some merch over the weekend, man. I appreciate
always.
you.
I'm buying the merch. I can't wait. I'm going to get the white hat.
Yes.
I didn't see it for some reason. I don't know. You gave me the link. Thank you for that. Now I'm going to have a white polo, I'm going to be golfing on the course, and hopefully the Jets.
I love it. Luppy, you're the man. Appreciate your support, dude. Luppy, checking in. Hit the like button if you're just tuning in. Get 2 more of your calls here. First, a super chat from Sexy Rexy, Rex Ryan, who says we should hire a ref as our head coach. Embarrassing how many stupid penalties we had today. Yeah, look, NFL refs are terrible. We know that, but I'm not giving the Jets a pass. Like, they're an undisciplined, bad football team. You don't get the benefit of calls from the officials when that happens. But the refs are bad. But this has been a problem all year. They have 89 penalties this year. They had 12 today, and 8 of them were in the fourth quarter. And as I have in my notes, 4 of them on the Seattle game-winning drive. It's just, you can't make it up. Alan Hernandez writes in, hopefully not related to Aaron. It's been said time and time again, coaching is letting the team down by not keeping our guys in the moment. Lack of discipline, lack of adjustments. Yeah, the coaching is brutal. Brutal. I mean, the coaching is like a wet Charles Gorman fart.
Excuse me.
That's where we're at with the coaching. All right, let's call it for what it is. More of your calls right now. Ladies and gentlemen, the great Gator McCluskey is on the line. Hello, Gator.
Hey, what are you doing?
Gator, I ask myself that often when I do these shows after losses. What am I doing?
Well, I'm happy to see that you're not flipping out over this one. I had a feeling. I think most of us saw that this one was going to have you sort of at an even keel. I had a thought that I wanted to share, and of course, I'm not breaking any new ground. But we're always blaming this loss on the kicker and this loss on, well, if this happened or that happened, we'd have 3 more wins or 4 more wins. I honestly think that if we had decent coaching, that every one of our losses could be explained, because no matter how you look at it, every player, whether it's Breece Hall fumbling or the way the defense gives up points, or you can blame Aaron Rodgers in the way that he played, or this player or that player. It's just so much of it points at the coaching to me that they're the ones to blame. I think if we had last year we were saying if we had a top 5 quarterback, a top 10 quarterback, top 15 quarterback, we compete, right? We're in the playoffs. I think if we had a top 15 coaching staff, we're in the playoffs. I really do. This coaching staff is absolutely embarrassing. I'm embarrassed to wear this hat.
I mean, let's like insert a coaching staff to this team and guess what the record would be like. If you put like, we'll start with the best of the best. You put the Steelers coaching staff on the Jets. What's their record right now? It's probably flipped, right?
Flipped.
Even with this version of Rodgers, it's flipped, or maybe they have a win or two less. Like Shanahan, McVay, probably the same thing. Even if you put like Sean McDermott, I think is a good coach. He deserves enough credit. He doesn't get enough credit for the job he's done there, stabilizing things after they were a joke for 20-something years before he got there. Like it feels like the biggest issue with this team, and there are many. It starts with the coaching staff from top to bottom, and Woody obviously escalated it and made it worse with the decision to get rid of Saleh just 5 games into the season.
Yeah, and everybody that's hating on Rodgers, I get it. He didn't play well. I still believe that if he ends up on another team next year, if he decides, I think there's a very good chance he retires, that he hopefully looks at himself in the mirror and says, you know what, maybe I'm done. But if he doesn't, okay, and if he makes a run here, maybe, shows something in the last 5 games, and then some team takes a flyer on him. I mean, let's say Miami, for example, God forbid, decides, well, you know what, Tua, he's too concussed or whatever. Let's bring Rodgers in for a year. We're ready to win now. We've got these great receivers. We've got a plan in place. I don't want to face Rodgers on Miami next year because you know what's going to happen.
I mean, we're like conditioned to assume if he goes anywhere else, he'll be great, which maybe does happen, but I just don't think the Jets themselves can worry about that. Like the cap ramifications are what they are. They tried it. It didn't work. I don't hate the guy. I will wish the guy well. He's 41 years old now, and he looks like it. And if he gets better elsewhere, like, God bless. But, with Favre going elsewhere, Favre showed you when he was healthy, he was a lot better than Rodgers was this year. Like, he was. And then he played through the injury, which affected his performance. Rodgers had some moments, but the only complete game where I thought he was excellent throughout was the home opener against New England. And that was really it. Like, there's been moments. Gave you a great half against Houston when you and I sat next to each other at the stadium. He gave you, some great moments against the Bills at MetLife. He gave you, some really good throws, even against the Colts a couple of weeks ago. But he's just no longer consistently capable of putting together a full game. And he's going to need to do that to overcome how bad the coaching is around him. And he can't do it.
But what quarterback could you have plugged into our scheme with our coaches that it would have made that much of a difference?
I think someone like Allen or Mahomes or Lamar, guys who can move Herbert,
Sure.
like it'd be a lot better. If you tell me that, I don't think Tyrod Taylor would have made that much of a difference, though.
No.
I really don't.
No. All right. One last thing I'll leave you with is game is over. I'm my usual miserable self. And my wife says to me, "You all right?" And I'm like, "I'm just tired of this team losing." She's like, "Well, what's the difference between this year and every year? Don't they always lose?" And I said, honestly, and I hadn't think about it till that moment, I said, this year hurts more than any, and you've said this as well, because this is the most talented team I feel like we've had in really long time. I said, so this one actually hurts more than any of the other ones. I don't know if you can understand that as like someone that's like my wife that's not a football fan, but it's like, wow, what a wasted potential year we just sat through. A total waste.
It's brutal. This year hurts the most because we waited so long for it too, because of the injury last year. And then we finally get to this year and we never got to really enjoy it outside of a 2-1 start.
2 wasted years.
Horrible.
To better days, my friend.
Gator, keep up the great work. Now, I do have one request. So in the intro, it says season on the brink. You're going to have to change that to season over as we play the after loss intro for potentially 5 more games.
I'll try to get the motivation to do something.
Gator McCluskey, everyone. Give him a round of applause. One of the all-time greats. Hit the like button. If you're spamming the chat with fake news about Juan Soto, you're gone. I don't need people being duped into thinking he signed somewhere when he hasn't. Let's see. C with a super chat. With the right leaders, this is a winning team, and it's so evident watching them. Key building blocks already in place. Can turn it around quicker than most think. Garrett Wilson extension day one of the offseason. I agree. And I'll say this too. See, I've talked about Garrett a lot on the show. I'm not trading Sauce Gardner. Not a chance am I trading Sauce Gardner when his value is lower. By the way, Sauce had a great game today. That was nice to see. You know, he hasn't had a good season for his standards overall. The tackling's an issue till it's not, but I thought Sauce had a good game today. Really, there were so many players who played well today, and they still just find ways to lose. We already heard from one Castro. We got to hear from the OG Peter Castro. Ladies and gentlemen, get ready, because joining us right now on the Gusbuster hotline is...
The biggest mistake they made is not firing this whole crew of shitheads before the season started. The coaches can't make decisions. They don't correct anything. I mean, this is a joke. Jake?
Peter, how are you?
I'm good. You know what? The season's over. It's done and over, but I'm thinking of next year. I really think they need to get somebody like Brian Flores and get Justin Fields if you want to have an interesting season next year, because Brian Flores will keep that team playing properly the way they should play, and he'll hold people accountable. And this team needs to be held accountable. These guys are way out of control, way out. I mean, all the penalties, stupid penalties, it's ridiculous. It's really, it's too much. Any fan can't take this. I mean, I knew they were going to lose today. It was only a matter of time. I mean, Rodgers had, what's his name, wide open in the end zone. Garrett Wilson, wide open, he overthrew it. He had him on a fly pattern. That's the other thing. He's fast as hell. Why don't they send him on fly patterns more often? He had a beat by 5 yards. If he throws the ball out a little further, that's a touchdown. I don't know if you saw that or not, because you were on the radio.
Yeah, it just everything that could go wrong basically has gone wrong, Peter. It's hard to fathom. I was looking at a tweet from Geno Smith where he basically just posted a meme making fun of the Jets. Let me say this for Geno Smith. Congrats on being a competent quarterback 10 years after you left the Jets. Like, really, you're going to take shots at the Jets? You ruined your own future, Geno, by getting punched in the mouth by a teammate over $600. So please, I don't need to hear from Geno Smith feeling like he's somehow wronged by the Jets. Give me a break.
Let me tell you something. Geno Smith is slow as molasses. He's as slow at getting rid of the ball as Rodgers is. He was just lucky a few times today. He's not good. They're not going nowhere with Geno Smith. You know that, and I know that. They're not going nowhere with him. You know, he's been around for a while. He'll have a couple of games where he's halfway decent, but he stinks. He stunk when he was here, and he still stinks. They're not going to win with him. And I got news for you. This coaching staff should have been fired before the season started, and they wouldn't have had all these problems, but they listened to Mr. Rodgers. He wanted Salah. He wanted everybody back. He wanted all these guys. And now that Devontae and him were campaigning for Ulbrich. Are you kidding me?
I mean, they're gone. I mean, they're just trying to be nice to Ulbrich so maybe he can get a DC job somewhere else. He's gone.
He's horrible. He's a terrible coach.
They should let you coach the last 5 games. I think you would get this team fired up. You'd hold them accountable.
I'll tell you what, they wouldn't get away with half of what they're doing, and these penalties are not acceptable to me. I mean, they're ridiculous penalties that they get. I mean, some of them weren't even penalties. That horse collar was horse shit. You know, that wasn't a penalty. That's only a penalty when you're tackling the guy. But he had let it go, and then he tackled him on his legs. So that's not really a penalty. That was another.
Don't put yourself in that spot, though, or you know.
Well, you know what? They're just a horribly coached team, Jay.
They are. They're
we got the worst coaching staff in college and in the pros. They're worse than a college football team. They're terrible. But anyway, onward to next year. Hopefully they get the right GM. Hopefully we either get I really hope we get either Grable or what's his name, Flores. The rest of them, I don't see any. The guy from Cleveland's not going to leave. They're going to keep him. I'd like to really see Brian Flores and Gable as the offensive coordinator. Not Gable. What's his name? The guy in the Giants. He's going to get fired.
Brian Dable.
Yeah, he's going to get fired.
You tell me he's the OC with Flores? I like it.
Yeah. You know what? They keep tanking. They're going to get both of them are going to get fired. Him and the GM.
I think the Giants are cleaning house too. I would agree.
I think so too. Anyway, have a good night, Jake. And I don't really care whether they win or lose anymore. I think they'll lose probably the next 4 out of the next 5. They're not going to beat Miami. The only team that they could possibly beat is maybe Jacksonville. And that all depends on who's playing quarterback, because this team is just so bad they beat themselves. The other team doesn't even beat them. They'll find a way to beat themselves. That's how badly coached they are.
That they are. You know, there's one more name you forgot though. How about the OC down in Houston?
Once we get Ulebrick out of here, my coaching choices are Babe Brill first. Then I want a Queensberry. Got to look at Monkey from Baltimore, and maybe Slow Dick in Houston.
Can't forget about Slow Dick in Houston. Ladies and gentlemen, are you kidding me? KF 101 just paid for tonight's dinner. Bang! Bang! A $50 super chat. Hey now. I mean, you know, times are tough right now with the Jets being 3-9, but at least dinner's on the house. Let's go, KF.
It's Jets, Jets. I love Fireman Ed too.
As long as Woody is the owner, we will swim in the waters of fertility. I get it. I'm not going to try and sit here and tell you you're wrong. I will tell you, though, that the New York Knicks right now are blowing out the Pelicans at home 44-23. Their owner is considered a lot worse than the Jets owner. No one's talking about James Dolan right now. You know, even a blind squirrel can find a nut. And you got to hope that Woody Johnson can hire 2 people that can get the team back on track, just like the Knicks hired Leon Rose and Tom Thibodeau. That's the only way this changes. The only thing I'll say about Woody is that, you know, he did own this team in 2000, and from 2000 to 2016, they never had back-to-back losing years, which is why it's insane that they now have had 9 years in a row of losing football. And they did go to the playoffs 6 times. He was the owner when that happened. You know, he's a bad owner. I'm not telling you he's somehow good, but yeah, you can't fire the owner, unfortunately. You can't. More of your calls right now. Kevin's next. Hey, Kevin.
Hey, Jake. Yeah, you know, on the owner thing, you know, Woody Johnson, like you said, the Jets made the playoffs a bunch of times in the first back half of the 2000s. And, you know, I don't understand what people think. You replace one billionaire with another billionaire, and people think there's going to be like instant change. So he hires another consulting firm, and all of a sudden they're going to find it's about coaching. It's about getting the right coaches in the program. It's about getting the right general managers that can actually, you know, have change, understand what they're doing. We've just gotten the wrong people. You know, Tannenbaum was our last good GM that we've had. Rex had his up and down years, but he had a lot of up. And, you know, but enough with the revisionist history, by the way, with about Robert Saleh. I hear that. I see it all the time. Like, oh, the Jets fired Robert. Saleh wasn't a good coach. All right. He was 4-13, 7-10, 7-10. And then in this season, with all the chips on the pushed in, going into week 6, we're under 500. So like this idea that we would have just, if we kept Robert Saleh, or if Woody Johnson, again, was meddling, even though every Jet fan, and I was on your show, everybody's on your show, 90% of your fans were fire Saleh, and then they're saying, but Ulbrich was worse. Well, guess who brought in Ulbrich? Who built this coaching staff? It was Robert Saleh. Robert Saleh built his entire coaching staff. Joe Douglas gave him full reign over who he would hire and who would he bring into the building, and that's who is to blame. So enough with the revisionist history about Robert Saleh. I don't think this team would be in any different position right now. Maybe they have, I don't know, one more win. Who cares? So, I mean, I'm frustrated.
Even if they had a couple more wins, like in the grand scheme of things, they were not going to win with him as the coach, unfortunately.
Exactly, Jake, and that's what I'm talking about. I'm like, so what? Like, you're going to be still under 500 team. We're trying to not only make the playoffs, we're trying to win a championship. That was the original goal. So, like, this revisionist history I'm hearing from the media, you know, Connor Hughes loves to tweet this stuff out every week. He's like, the Jets are this under, Holbrick, not under Salah. And I'm seeing it. It's such an annoying thing they've got going on. I don't know if they do it for clicks or just to trigger people, but it's just like, or that the Packers are 4-1 because Robert Saleh what is he, a consultant? You think Robert Saleh has any influence in the Green Bay building about their winning or losing? I mean, it's just
he developed Jordan Love into the player he is today.
Exactly. It's just a complete absurd narrative. But I mean, this game today was a new level of absurdity watching this game where, I was sitting on the couch watching it and just going, as soon as they got that pick six, and of course it had to be Big Cat that made the pick six, I said, we're losing the game. I mean, you said many times in the show, once one thing goes wrong, once there's one bad thing that happens, the team just folds. It's just,
and you feel it. You feel it every time when you watch it. Like every Jet fan knows exactly what you're describing. You're right. I've said it on the show before. They're soft. Like they're made of glass. Like they get punched in the mouth and that's it. And like, that was the play. Like, yeah, obviously Rodgers cannot miss Garrett and then throw the pick six. That's bad. He can't do that. He should be criticized for that. And we criticized him on the show. But every time there's something bad that happens, that shouldn't be the end for your chances of still winning that day. Like, that's crazy that every time they deal with any sort of adversity, they fold immediately.
Yep, and you're still up 8 points. They missed the extra point. You're still in your own building. You get the ball to start the second half. It's just, and they just don't know how to just finish it off. It's incredible to me. But yeah, this game was just such a 2024 Jets game. That's the only way I know how to describe it, because
I know
it's unbelievable, Jake. And I can't believe we got 5 more games to get through. It's hard. It's very hard to watch.
It's just, it's tough to stomach, man. Kevin, I appreciate it. So 5 weeks to go, like 5 more of these post games, baby. Yeah, the one smart thing I did was a couple weeks ago, I gave away my ticket to Jet Dolphins next week in Miami. So I'm glad I don't have to go to that. I can't do it. If any Asmaniac is down there, I know there's a ton who live down there. I hope for your guys' sake you see a win, but like I can't do it. And I said it on the radio show earlier when I was on ESPN. Like, God bless anyone who was at this game today. All the season ticket holders. It was freezing. You're tailgating. You're bringing the energy, and this team gives you nothing. Again. C writes, and coaching sucks, but Downing called an awesome game. Yeah, I mean, Downing, I thought, did some good things today, but it's never enough. It's never enough with this team. They just beat themselves. And also, I think Rodgers then, he goes back to his old ways where he tries to force the ball to Devontae, or he's changing out of stuff. Like, Breece Hall was averaging 5 yards a carry. He only had, 16 total carries today? He hasn't had a single game this year where he's had over 20 carries. And I get it. He's playing through an injury. Or Breece only had 12 carries today. So why is Braylon Allen only getting 5 carries? Isaiah Davis only 1 carry. Like, why does Aaron Rodgers need to throw 39 times today? Poorly coached team. That's why. Story Lynn. Why Vrabel? Mid-Titans coach, ex-Pats. Rex our only hope. We have to run it back with Rodgers. No rebuild. Thank God we lost today. Didn't watch. Okay, so you didn't watch today's story, Lynn. Now you're going to call Mike Vrabel mid when he's had 6 seasons as a coach. He won 9 or more games in 4 of them, including an AFC Championship game appearance with Ryan Tannehill as his quarterback, and went into Foxborough and beat Tom Brady and Bill Belichick in their last ever game together. Why Vrabel? You're going to call him mid? And you're going to say Rex, who I love, by the way, but hasn't coached in the NFL since 2016, is the only hope? And you have to run it back with 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers, who has not played well today, has played like a bottom third in the league quarterback this year? And you're going to tell us you didn't watch? Thank you for the support, but this meets the criteria of going to the hole. So, we will see you in 24 hours.
Now look what you've done. No more protection from the Asmaniacs. Had to pull you out of the chat and cast you down with the sodomites. Some time in here will feel like you've been run over by the lane train. You understand me? You catch my drift? Give them another 24 hours to think about it.
Rex is not their only hope. He's an option. But Rex is not their only hope. Mike Vrabel is going to get interviewed by basically probably every team with an opening. The only opening Rex is going to interview for a head coaching opening for us, the Jets. And I like Rex. I'm not trying to belittle Rex. I actually think Rex should interview. I want to hear who his staff would be. I want to hear what he'd have to say. But come on, man. Big fella writes in, A-Rod averaged 4.8 yards per attempt today. Pathetic. I mean, at least he tried to throw the ball downfield a little bit more, but they couldn't complete anything. He missed Garrett Wilson early in this game. He looked good, though. He was mobile. He was out of the pocket, but then the accuracy is just not there now. And it's just like, come on. JJ is up next. Hey, JJ.
Hello, my friends. As I was sitting
JJ,
there,
can you call back? Your internet is horrendous.
I got you. Give me 1 minute. I'll call right back.
All right, we'll go right back to you. Ladies and gentlemen, while we wait for JJ, let's say hello to the great David Taddeo, who has a brand new emoji that we added on the show yesterday. What's up, David?
Hi, Jake. I didn't see the game. I tuned into Connor Long. Can you hear me?
I hear you, David. I just said it was ironic that you didn't see the game.
Yeah, we don't get it. I can't get it down here. So I'm just kind of keeping tabs on the score with my phone and everything. But anyway, Connor Long did a bang-up job explaining everything, and boy, you know what a difference a day makes. You know, discipline and halftime adjustments, and you know, as far as the coaching, I'm really kind of not changed my mind because they were top candidates, but I was thinking Monken, you know, but I'm on board with you. I think Brable, which I don't know that we're going to get him, and then Flores, you know, a disciplinarian, tough cracker, you know. I think that's what they need. And as far as Aaron Rodgers, I'm throwing in the white towel, buddy. You know, I'm going to the game next week, but I just feel his time is coming to an end, and I don't want to just go to the game just to see Aaron Rodgers and all that kind of stuff. The only thing is, Connor Long said, you know, put Tyrod Taylor in, and I think you had mentioned it. I don't see the point. If Travis Jordan, you know, was healthy, you know, then they could have a young buck come in and try to get the experience, you know. So, you know, that's the way I feel about that. But it's funny because, you know, I'm an old timer, and I think about back to Joe Namath, and you know, the last year he had played for the Rams, and it was a Monday Night Football game. I guess it was Howard Cosell, and it was just, I mean, I guess the word is sad to see him play because he was just a broken down old football player.
He's not what he was, unfortunately. And there's just no way to justify bringing him back with what his cap hit would be for the future, for just bringing him back for one more year as the bridge. I mean, this team's 3-9. They can find someone else who could put up similar numbers.
Yes, sir. I totally agree with you. And you know, but the scary thing is, like you said, I mean, they have so much talent on a team, but if you don't have a quarterback, you don't have a team. I mean, that
if you don't have a coach, you don't have a team. You know, you could get away with winning without an elite quarterback. You probably can't win a championship without a damn good quarterback, but you could be competitive next year with competent quarterback playing really good coaching.
Yes, sir. Coaching is, oh my God. So, I don't know. Here we go again. Same old Jets.
Are you ready to be an eyewitness in person when you see the Jets next week?
Yes, sir. I'll tell you what, my eye's feeling better all the time. And, I'm, no matter what, I am pumped up, you know, for the experience. I love my Jets, and Jake, I will be rooting for them to win. I just, you know, that's just me. I mean, no matter what.
Nick Shine wrote in that it feels like you're looking into his soul. I feel like you're connecting with this fan base. You're really seeing in there.
That's funny. My optometrist had said that. He said, he's a character, and he had said, when I look into the people's eyes, I can look into their soul.
I see it.
So. Well, Nick Shine is a terrific person. All your people, they're like family.
David, you're the man. All right, I'm sure I'll talk to you this week, but I hope the Jets can win next Sunday with you in the building.
Thank you, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, the great David T checking in. For those who missed it, on the show the other day, we added the David themed emoji. Shout out to Patrick Starr. Dan the Jet fan checks in. Can't wait to go to Miami next week. Fun fact, the Jets are 0-11 in our last 11 games in Florida. Last time we won, Rex's final game as a head coach for us, Gino was the quarterback. I think that stat is right, Dan. I think we looked this up last year when you said it. That's pathetic. They have back-to-back games coming up in Florida, Miami and Jacksonville. Blake says, loved your question about head coaching experience to Tannenbaum on ESPN New York. Thank you, Blake. For those who missed it, Mike Tannenbaum came on with me and Ty Butler when we filled in for the Michael K show on Friday. So I posted the interview. We didn't get a lot from Tannenbaum, but we got just enough where I think if you're a Jet fan, it's worth your time checking that out on my channel. Hit the like button if you're just tuning in. If you're one of the 800 people still watching live, God bless you for caring about a 3-9 football team. It's only the diehards that are locked in right now. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do. Joe Beningo will join us tomorrow. However, he will join us in the early afternoon as opposed to the morning. Something came up with Joe, so we had to reschedule to 3 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. But we will have a show tomorrow morning, so be on the lookout for that. More of your calls right now. Let's see if this guy's internet's any better. JJ's next. Hey, JJ. Gee. Who could have saw this scenario happening? A JJ call where his internet was crap? No, that would never happen with JJ. He definitely would be able to figure out why his internet's not working out. Stunning, man. More stunning than the Jets not winning today is JJ not having good internet for his phone call. If anyone else would like to call in, open phone lines on this postgame show here. You could be a part of the conversation. The Gusbuster hotline link is pinned in the chat. In fact, I just posted it again to make it easier for you. Larry says, you filled in for Michael K. Wow, I did on Friday. I will be in for Rick DiPietro and Dave Rothenberg on ESPN New York the last week of December and the first week of January. So I'm doing 2 weeks in morning drive at the end of this month. I'm also going to be on ESPN New York as I have been every Sunday this year through the remainder of the season. I'm on 4 to 8 this upcoming week. So Jets Dolphins Sunday game will end at 4. I'll be on 4 to 8. The postgame show is going to start at 8 p.m. next week on YouTube. But my immediate thoughts on the game will be right after on the radio. Hit the like button, subscribe, all that. Luppy writes in with a super chat. Jake, you're the man. Thanks for getting us through another disappointing year. Luppy, I appreciate the support. For better or worse, I'll be talking about this team every day, twice a day, year round. That's the decision I made. I thought it'd be a good one this year because we'd have a winning team. But we don't. But we do have the best fans in sports. I've never been more convinced of that. Ladies and gentlemen, more of your calls. We'll see if we can get JJ's internet to function. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment of truth. Hello, JJ.
You know, it's funny. You just went to me, and I don't even know how because I wasn't even logged in. And I like just logged in, and I saw that you like had me on the screen. I was like, how's that? So that was a phantom, JJ. So I just got home like maybe like 30 minutes ago from this game. I was out there sitting in the freezing cold. And while I was sitting there, I thought,
was it traffic? Why did you just get home now?
Because I didn't want to drive because I refused to pay for the parking pass this late in the season. So I took public transportation, and then it took forever for my New Jersey transit bus to get me here. But anyways, while I'm sitting there in the stadium, right, watching Aaron Rodgers potentially lead us to a game-winning drive, which he hasn't done all season, I thought to myself, how many times has Aaron Rodgers had the ball in his hands with the game on the line to end the game, and he does absolutely nothing for us? And it's the decision making that's the problem. I mean, I think it was the third down before the fourth down. He had Devontae wide open. All he had to do was just throw it to him. He takes a sack. The play before that on second down, he throws it to Isaiah Davis. You have Devontae Adams on the field. You have Garrett Wilson on the field, and you throw it to Isaiah Davis. And the fact that Isaiah Davis was on the field on that second down in the red zone to end the game, that made no sense to me either. But I said this a couple of weeks ago, and I'm glad that you guys are all starting to see it. Aaron Rodgers is washed. And I'm going to double down on this point. Aaron Rodgers ruined the team this year. Because if it wasn't for Aaron Rodgers, we wouldn't have kept Salah. We could have went out there and got Dan Quinn, Mike Vrabel. We could have gotten one of the Harbaugh. Which one is that? Jim or is that John? That's Jim.
But when you say he ruined the team, you're acting as if it was intentional. Unfortunately, he got old, but they built the team around him coming in and being the guy. It was too late to pull the plug after you only got 4 plays of it last year. So what did you want them to do? The reason I say he ruined the team is because and I could be wrong on this, right? But from the speculations and the things and the rumblings was he didn't get along with LaFleur, right? He wasn't happy with LaFleur. And prior to that, now you told me that you heard otherwise, but prior to that, it seemed like he didn't vouch for McCarthy to keep his job. He was glad that McCarthy left because he wanted a new head coach. And then the new head coach that they got, he didn't like him. LaFleur is flourishing after Rodgers is gone. And Mike McCarthy, say what you want, but he's done a pretty good job in Dallas after departing from Rodgers. Rodgers is just, let's be honest with you, he's too much of a prima donna, a diva. And I thought this before, and I still think it now. I mean, there's so many moves that this team made to cater to him, and it's like he gets his way time after time. Everyone always, oh well, get him Devontae and he'll win some more games. It didn't work. Alan Lazard's on the team. That didn't work. Tim Boyle last year. Nate Hackett being on the team. Of course, nothing's worked, but that's because he's old. If you had the Aaron Rodgers of old and not old Aaron Rodgers, things would be different. But he's no longer capable to overcome the issues that exist on this team. And also, he didn't have a bad relationship with LaFleur. I think Aaron's big thing is he just thinks he's just as smart as these head coaches. Which
but he's not.
He was when he was winning back-to-back MVPs. Like he's not that guy anymore.
He won the back-to-back MVPs under LaFleur in LaFleur's offense, an offense that he didn't even want to run.
Yeah, but they still ran a lot of concepts with the West Coast offense. Like Hackett was still the OC there. It was definitely more LaFleur than the Hackett offense, whatever you want to call this West Coast offense. But it was like a mix. It was the two of them together, and it worked. And they had success. But he was a lot better then. And because he wasn't, 40 coming off an Achilles. And I think we'll never know, but I truly do think him getting hurt last year, I think it caused a lot of issues we're seeing now. Like, I don't know if he'd be this bad if he had never gotten hurt last year. I think the Achilles injury did a lot to what he was as a player. And he looks like a 41-year-old now. And it is what it is. They tried it. They went all in. They were bad before he got here. They very easily could be bad without him. I don't know if he ruined the Jets.
We weren't this bad before he got here. We were not this bad.
What do you mean? They were 7-10.
Exactly. And now what are we right now? We're 3-9. We weren't this bad last year. I'm sorry, but we weren't this bad. With incompetent quarterback play, we weren't this bad. And let me tell you something.
So are you going to try and tell me that Aaron Rodgers hasn't played better than what Zach Wilson and Tim Boyle were last year? Last year's defense was a lot better. Last year's kicker didn't miss. It's not the same team.
When it's counted the most, Aaron Rodgers has had the ball in his hand to end pretty much all of these games and get us a win in pretty much all of these games, and he just hasn't done it.
I agree. But he's been better than the quarterbacks last year, but the team this year is not as good as last year. You can't tell me this defense is anywhere close to what they were last year. Same thing with the kicking game.
Okay. In the beginning of the season, me and you had an argument. You probably will remember this, where I kept saying we're putting our faith in a 40-year-old quarterback coming off of 2 back-to-back injury seasons, right? And everybody on this channel was all like, "Oh, but it's Aaron Rodgers. He the last time we seen him on the field, he was an MVP, and his last season, even when he was hurt, when he played, would be better than anything the Jets has." blah, 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 all this stuff. All that ended up doing was making us keep Nathaniel Hackett, who's trash, making us keep Robert Saleh, who is trash, and it ruined the team for this year. Because if we would have did what we were supposed to do and fire our head coach before the season started and brought in a competent head coach, with a competent head coach, you don't see the shit that you would be seeing.
I agree, JJ. If you want to sit here and say you were right, they should have fired Saleh at the end of last year, you're 100% right about that. Obviously, if Saleh was only going to get 5 games this year, he shouldn't have been the head coach this year. What I'm trying to say to you is the idea that you're saying Rodgers ruined the team. They had no choice. What ruined the team was drafting Zach Wilson 2nd overall and missing on him and still having a good enough roster to win 7 games in 2022. So what was the alternative? Unfortunately, he got hurt. He got hurt 4 plays in last year. And that injury guaranteed jobs for people that, quite frankly, turned out didn't deserve to have jobs, and it all blew up this year.
All right. Let me ask you a question, right? Serious question. Would you agree or disagree that Eli Manning and Ben Roethlisberger both have better careers or more desirable careers than Aaron Rodgers' career?
No.
If you're a football player with and they talk, CJ Stroud talked about this. If you're a football player,
he's wrong.
What would you rather have? Would you
I'd rather be Aaron Rodgers?
Would you rather have 2 Super Bowls and be beloved by your city, by all your teammates?
One, this has nothing to do with the Jets, and 2, I would rather be Aaron Rodgers over Eli Manning any day of the week.
It does have something to do with the Jets, because you know why it has something to do with the Jets? The Jets handed Aaron Rodgers the keys to the franchise.
And he's old, JJ. If they were getting 39-year-old Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay when he was winning back his 2nd of back-to-back MVPs, no one would care that they brought in Allen Lazard and Devontae Adams for him.
In the playoffs, Aaron Rodgers.
You always go too far, JJ. You have a point saying they should have fired Robert Saleh last year. You had a point, and then you always take it way too far. Now you're bringing up Big Ben and Eli, which has nothing to do with the 2024 state of the New York Jets. It does not. He is old. He has not played well, but he's not the only reason why they're 3-9 is my point. If they had this version of Aaron Rodgers on last year's team, they would have made the playoffs. Unfortunately, this year's team is not last year's team. They got worse on defense. They got worse on special teams. And this offense, which we thought was going to be led by a great running game, it just has not materialized the way we thought it would.
All I'm saying is, in those 2 MVP seasons that Aaron Rodgers had, when he got into the playoffs and he played San Francisco, he choked. And he always chokes in the playoffs, right?
He doesn't always choke in the playoffs.
That's why he only has 1 Super Bowl ring.
That's so not fair. You know how many points per game the Packers defense allowed in NFC Championship games with Aaron Rodgers?
Tell me, please.
Let me pull it up because I had all these stats when we were talking about this going into the year. 35 points per game. Aaron Rodgers' career playoff numbers: 45 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. Career passer rating over 100. Come on, man. And also,
why does he only have 1 Super Bowl then?
I can't answer that. You'd have to talk. You'd have to talk to Packers fans about the blunders they had on defense or special teams. And sure, there's been games he hasn't played well either. But JJ, I'm tired of I don't need to have this argument with you. Aaron Rodgers won't be a Jet after 5 more games. He's going to go into the Hall of Fame.
But there's some people in this fan base who want Aaron Rodgers here next year. I'm not saying he's not.
I think that was before today. I know my stance was, could we see how the next 6 look? Could we see if he got healthy over the bye?
Just stop. I just don't like the fact that we acted like Aaron Rodgers coming to here was the equivalent of Tom Brady going to.
Why? Why couldn't it be?
Tom Brady had 6 rings when he was going, and everyone universally says Tom Brady's the reason they have all those rings. Aaron Rodgers only had 1 ring.
Okay, so he's not the greatest quarterback of all time. He's still in the conversation of being one of the 5 best ever.
Yeah, but you don't hand him the keys to the franchise.
What did you want them to do, JJ? They had.
I wanted them to fire Hackett. That's what I wanted them to do.
Okay, but you're talking about like it was a mistake to bring in Rodgers in the first place. What was the alternative?
The mistake wasn't to bring in Rodgers. The mistake was to hand him the keys and make him basically the GM of the team, and we get him every single thing that he needs, and it's still not good enough for us to win.
I get it, JJ, but I don't think it would have made a difference because he's unfortunately old. He's not the same guy. If you had Matt LaFleur calling the plays right now, I don't know if Aaron Rodgers would have been that much better than what we've seen. He's missing throws to guys who are open. That's not on the play calling.
It's not even that he's missing throws. It's that he doesn't even want to run the plays that they're giving him. That's why we keep getting all these stupid
JJ, if he hits Garrett Wilson today, they're up 28-7 and they win the game. What do you mean it's not that he's missing throws? He is missing throws.
I'm
That's part of the problem.
On top of him missing throws, he doesn't even want to go with the plays that they're called. He keeps trying to check into the right play. First of all, why didn't we call timeout on the 4th down before the game ended? Why didn't we call timeout? We had 2 timeouts. Why didn't we do that?
Because this team is poorly coached. I don't know the answer.
No,
Everything.
The reason it's poorly coached is because Aaron Rodgers forced us to keep Robert Saleh.
He didn't force them. He gave them a vote of confidence because I think he probably felt that as a human being that this team went 7-10 after they went all in to bring him here, and he played 4 snaps last year. He probably said, "Look, I came here for these guys. I don't think it's right that they should be fired." And Woody listened when, in hindsight, yeah, you were right. They should have fired Robert Saleh and the staff last year, but it's too late. It is what it is.
And we should probably play. Can we play Tyrod or Jordan? Well, we can't play Jordan Travis.
No,
right?
Jordan Travis is not healthy. No,
Okay,
he's not healthy.
Can we play Tyrod? Because I'm tired of seeing Aaron Rodgers with the ball in his hand.
What does that do? Okay, you want to play Tyrod? Fine, play Tyrod. It doesn't matter.
Because you know what it does? Because now we can see if we can keep Tyrod as a bridge quarterback for next year, or if we should move on and get a different. What, you don't want to keep Tyrod for next year?
No, I'm not going to sit here and evaluate Tyrod Taylor on 5 games down the stretch that mean nothing. And we know what Tyrod Taylor is.
But what are we going to do next year? What would you like to do at quarterback?
I will let a new GM decide what they should do. I think they should look into bringing in a different bridge quarterback. I would have Jordan Travis, and I would consider drafting someone in the first round, if not in the first round, on day 2 of the draft.
No, we got to draft somebody.
He's under contract next year. You don't need to do anything.
We have to draft somebody next year. Yes. And we are going to keep Jordan Travis, yes. But in terms of who's going to be our week 1 starter next year.
So you think if Tyrod Taylor plays in 5 games here, he's going to show you enough where you're going to say, yep, he's the guy for next year? You know what Tyrod Taylor is.
Yeah, Tyrod Taylor is a journeyman quarterback who can play 5 games this year, and I can see what he can give me for next year. And then we can start the season with Tyrod,
what he is.
And then move as the season progresses, move on to whoever our rookie is.
You talk yourself from a good call to a bad call.
How is this a bad call?
You had it at the beginning.
How is Tyrod?
You had a good call at the beginning.
But how is Tyrod?
And then you want to debate Eli versus Rodgers. Rodgers' career, saying he has bad playoff numbers when he doesn't, and now you want to talk about playing Tyrod. Look, if you want to play Tyrod Taylor, JJ, go for it, man. I'm happy for you. I hope he shouts you out after a big win on Sunday. It doesn't matter.
Last thing about the Eli and Ben Roethlisberger thing. Aaron Rodgers is not beloved by Green Bay. They kicked him out and they're happy that he's gone. They are laughing at us. They got a first round pick for him, and we look like idiots. Where's BMAC? BMAC, call in and gloat because your team, your Green Bay Packers,
he loves Rodgers. It's not all of them. And by the way, they didn't like Favre either when he left, and now they love the guy because time heals. When Aaron Rodgers goes into the Hall of Fame as a Packer, he's going to get a standing ovation when they retire his number.
Who got the better end of the Rodgers to the Jets trade, us or the Packers?
JJ. Obviously, the Green Bay Packers did. It hasn't worked, but that doesn't mean it was the wrong idea to bring him in. I mean, like JJ, if you were running the Jets, the team would be in the same exact spot. Who would you have signed after 2022? Derek Carr? Jimmy Garoppolo?
Let me tell you what I would have done if I was the GM of the Jets.
Please let us know your master plan.
My master plan is I would have fired Joe Douglas and fired Robert Saleh 2 years ago.
After 2022, after Joe Douglas is coming off a draft where he drafted the offensive and defensive rookie of the year, hit on Breece Hall and hit on Jermaine Johnson and won 7 games. You would have fired that guy after that draft after a 7-10 season. That makes sense.
Yes, I would have, because what did he do the year before that? And what did he do after that? Absolutely nothing.
Ladies and gentlemen, the king of hindsight, JJ. Bravo. Incredible. Yep, let's fire the executive after he drafts the offensive and defensive rookie of the year. See, a couple of things can be true. The Aaron Rodgers move has not worked, obviously. But it doesn't mean it was the wrong move. It was the right move. It didn't work. The biggest issue was drafting Zach Wilson and missing on Zach Wilson. That put them in the spot where they had to be all in and desperate to get Aaron Rodgers to come here. They had no alternative. So JJ would have fired Douglas and Saleh after Saleh's second year. Great. Then who's the head coach and GM? What would they have done at quarterback? I mean, people are just ridiculous, man. Hindsight is 2020. I mean, that JJ, you always just talk yourself into losing phone calls. You had it. You had it. He made no points. You would not take Eli's career over Aaron Rodgers. you'd rather be a 4-time MVP and a Super Bowl MVP and considered one of the 5 greatest quarterbacks of all time than Eli, who there's a debate even after winning 2 Super Bowls. Is he even a Hall of Famer? Sorry, you would. And also, not that money's everything. Go look at career earnings for Aaron Rodgers. No player has made more in NFL history than Aaron Rodgers. And then look at Eli Manning's career earnings. Good God. I mean, what are you talking about, man? C. Bull writes in, Jake, can you put yourself in the shadow realm? I cannot. But I could put you there because you're a moron.
Into the shadow realm you go.
Did you say Zach Wilson is special? I think he had a special night, but I don't think he's special. You got to look at this dude and say, oh, he is garbage.
I can't, man. Joe the Jet says, JJ is the most punchable person on this channel. I like JJ. He's a great guy. He's just out of his mind with his takes. Nick Shine writes in, unless JJ is a time machine, these past takes being rehashed make 0 sense and aren't a fun watch. Yeah, way to tell us you would have fired Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh after 2022. Because that really was what we were talking about then. I mean, give me a break, dude. Blake writes in, what a high we were all on at 1 a.m. after that Patriots W. Appreciate all the work you do, brother. We can't draft a quarterback with a brand new GM next year. Well, I mean, you can draft a quarterback with a brand new GM, though. That's the only thing, Blake. If that GM likes the guy. You don't force it, though. We'll see. Where they're picking right now, there might be a quarterback that's available. I mean, it's unreal, man. More calls right now. The big fella's next. Hey, big fella.
Hey, Jake. Couple things with JJ. I haven't heard anybody, any teammates of Rodgers really say that he was a bad guy or anything.
No, they all like him. He's just he's just not what he was. Like, he's 41. Like, it happens.
Yeah.
We thought he'd be better. We also thought the team around him would be better. It didn't work. You know, it was the right move. It just, the result hasn't been what we wanted. Like, that's it. There was no, I challenge anyone, just like I just did the JJ, and he came up with a nonsensical answer that everyone in the chat is laughing him at for, oh, I fired Douglas and Saleh. Then what? Like,
yeah.
In 2022? Like, come on, man. Like, I get it. We're all pissed off. But, like, the logic behind bringing in Rodgers was correct. Unfortunately, he got hurt 4 plays in. We'll never know how that impacted his timeline of still potentially being a competent quarterback.
Yeah, unfortunately, he left MVP Rodgers in that darkness cave, But getting back to that trade also that we had for Rodgers, I would rather have Will McDonald than Lucas Van Ness. I mean, Will McDonald's turned into a damn good player.
Double-digit sacks. I mean, he's probably going to be the Pro Bowl this year.
Yeah, and did Rodgers really blame, the wind today? I heard something about him blaming the wind.
No, I mean, I mean, they asked him about the missed throw to Garrett. He referenced the win and is like, it doesn't matter. I got to hit that. I mean, he didn't.
He played in Green Bay.
Yeah, come on. He's not the same guy. We all see it.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
I'm not gonna get mad about it. Like, it didn't work. Like, unfortunately, he's not gonna be here next year. Neither is the GM who's already been fired or the coach who's already been fired. It's gonna be a brand new regime coming in, and you pray they get it right or nothing else matters.
And there's one guy who hasn't been getting a lot of criticism, who should be. He's Brent Boyer. Jesus Christ, his special teams has been awful this year.
Yep.
I mean, for God's sake, Irv Charles is a penalty machine. He should have actually I don't know why he let the ball go in the end zone today. How many extra points and kicks are we going to have blocked this year? I mean, it's crazy.
Also,
and the coverage is terrible.
How long did it take to use this guy on kick returns till today? Like, why did it take till December to finally bring in this guy in and give him an opportunity?
I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, he came in with a good reputation of he was a special teams guru. He's been ass. I'm telling you, he's been it's been bad. And, that's just one thing. But like I told you on the radio show, we do have a lot of talent here that's young. We do need guidance with the players, though. I don't know who that's going to be, but a disciplinarian is what we need. To really, set the ship straight, sort of like Parcells. Now, get him back to being a disappointing season. This season's disappointing, and the only one that's comparable to me is the one where Vinny went down. Because we were all ready, we were all ready to, go for it. And then, I mean, it wasn't as like, I don't know, Vinny going down is like Rodgers going down last year, but this year is just, I don't know, it's just one thing after another. They just keep finding ways to lose, and hasn't been good. But
well, maybe they can find 5 more ways to lose,
yeah,
and then they're in the top 2, and they could either trade out and get a haul, or they could take a quarterback.
I'm telling you, man, I like Jackson Dart. I really do. My son's watching right now. He's in Tennessee. He knows I love Jackson Dart.
He's not a
no, he'll be second round. Second round, hopefully. I want nothing to do with Milroe, man. Nothing.
I like Milroe. I wouldn't play him right away though, but like if developed, I think he's got a very high ceiling.
He reminds me of my favorite quarterback from Tennessee.
He's better than Milton.
Dude, he's a little bit better. He's a little bit better. He's not that much better, bro.
He's way better.
No, he's not. Come on now. He's really not. I'm telling you, man. He can run. God bless. He can run, and he's powerful and everything. But we call him Overthrow Milroe, man. He is not. He's not.
He's raw, but I like his intangibles too. He could have left when everyone else left. When Saban was gone, he stayed.
True.
He's a good leader.
No, that's true. That's true. But he does have the best wide receiver in the country. So,
that
Ryan Williams. But like I said on the show, our situation is not like some, it's not as bad as what everybody thinks it is. We have talent there, and a new coach coming in to mold these players, it would be enticing for the right guy. And, we got to look forward to that. Unfortunately, we have to look forward to the draft now. So, it's another wait and see year, but whatever, man. Tomorrow's Rodgers' birthday. Tomorrow's my birthday.
Are you turning 41 as well?
No, I'm turning 52, man.
You look good.
And Addison's birthday is today, so
happy birthday, Addie.
Yeah, happy birthday, Addison. So a lot of stuff going on, my man. But anyway, have a good night. I'll continue listening, and go Jets, man.
Go Jets. The big fella checking in. More calls. Marco's next. Hey, Marco.
Hey, what's going on, Jake?
What's up, Marco? How are you?
I'm good. So this is my first time on here. So I've been a Jets fan all my life. I'm from Memphis, Tennessee. Like, born and raised. Just been a huge Jets fan. Unluckily,
how'd you pick the Jets?
I was young, and I seen Vinny Testaverde play, and they was playing a game on TV, and I was like, oh, they cool. And my favorite color was green. I was like, look, I'm gonna go with the Jets, and I just been a fan ever since then. So
tough,
but this season here, like, we started with Saleh. Everything just came to an end once we fired Saleh. So it's just like, if you go with him, if you didn't know you didn't like him the last season, you got to stay with what you had. You got to stand on business. And I think all of this is honestly on Woody Johnson. This is what I feel like. Because, I mean, you had Saleh. Yeah, we were 2-3. But it's just still, you can't sit up here and change what everybody has been in good moral standing with Saleh as the head coach. And then just all of a sudden, you just go take the guy who been they done been all preseason with, all these 3 years with, and then all of a sudden you just cut them and expect, oh, everybody's going to be cool with that. Yeah, that's a smart move, and bring in Ulbrich, who has never coached, and you got him really got to carry 2 jobs because he was the defensive coordinator. You just think he's going to switch. He ain't never did a head coach before, and then in your mind, you going to think, hey, this would be a good spark. Let's fire the guy we've been all preseason workouts with and everything to make a whole switch in the beginning of the season. Like, you can't sit up here. This is not like a game of this is not a game. It's just really, I mean, take that back. It is a game, but you can't sit up here and do that, because like when you do that and you see what it did with the defense has not been the same since Saleh has left this team. It has been disgraceful. And so you get that, and you get that, and you get with Aaron Rodgers being there, and him not doing the preseason workouts with the team. So it's like, yeah, the team respect Rodgers.
That had nothing to do with it. He missed 2 days of minicamp in June without pads. The reality is that had no impact on anything. The defense being as bad as they've been post Salah, there's definitely something to that though, for sure. I don't know if it would have mattered big picture because this team ultimately was not going to win with him as the head coach. I mean, they were 2-3 when they fired him, coming off brutal back-to-back losses against Denver at home and then a no-show in the first half against the Vikings down 17-0.
Right, but do you think, I mean, as much as we were starting out bad, do you think we would have been this bad if we would have kept Salah? I don't think we would have been this bad at all.
I don't think so, but I do think though, Marco, had they lost to Buffalo, he might have been fired anyway. They would have had, if they were 2-4, I think he probably would have fired Salah then. So it was happening.
You gotta let the season. You have to let the season go because still 2-4, you still got a chance. Like if you saying that right now, I mean he should go ahead and fire Ulbrich. I mean, really.
I mean, you're not gonna fire the interim. It's over.
You put him in position. He's doing worse than Salah. So it's like you can't sit up and shit. It's like stand on business. Let the season go. Let it go. And be like, okay, they didn't do a good job because you kept them on the season. So you got to put your 100% faith up in them. And if it didn't work out, hey, you gave them 100% full chance to make this work. But now it's just worse. It's worse than Zach Wilson. Like I felt like even when we got Rodgers, them couple of years ago, I felt like Zach Wilson should have been gone or third string. I felt like we should have kept Mike White because I think Aaron Rodgers and I think Mike White would have did a better job than Zach Wilson because at that time we had an offensive line. So when Aaron Rodgers would have got hurt and we would have had Mike White, he would have did a way better job. We probably would have made the playoffs with Mike White because when we didn't have an offensive line and Mike White was taking all them hits, we didn't have a line. So imagine what Mike White could have did, especially when he was groomed to be a Jets quarterback. He knew the system. He knew the players. The players had a good morale with him. It would have been way much better than Zach Wilson, but that's the past. That is what happened. But right now, he should have kept Salah, I think, until the end of the season, seeing what we could have did. But I think we will still be in actual playoff talks, honestly, if we have Salah still here.
I appreciate the call. I don't think so. Salah was 20-36 as a coach. The revisionist history about the guy is astonishing to me. He hired this staff that's in over their head right now. The defense wouldn't be this bad, I agree. But you think they were going to win anything with Salah? Like, Aaron Rodgers would still be 41 years old and looking like a 41-year-old. Greg Zuerlein still would have missed a lot of kicks. The defensive line still would have been a problem. It'd be better, I agree, but come on. Also, bringing up Mike White. Mike White, unfortunately, couldn't stay healthy either. I mean, people don't want to hear it, but the season was doomed before it began. JJ writes in, Jake, do a poll. Did Rodgers ruin this team? No, because people are gonna. I don't want to do a poll. Did Rodgers ruin this team? I don't know, JJ. They were 7-10 before he got here. They were 7-10 last year, and they're going to be worse this year, which honestly might end up being a good thing because you got everyone fired and a top 3 pick. We'll see. Did he ruin this team? No, I don't think he ruined this team. I think, unfortunately, he was the best option at the time they brought him in, and then he got hurt 4 plays in last year, which is no one's fault. And he's not the same guy he was. But what were the alternatives? GM JJ says he would have fired Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh after 2022 because that makes a lot of sense. The Jets wouldn't be clowned for that. You fire the guy who just drafted the offensive and defensive rookie of the year. 4 games in year 1 for Saleh. They won 7 without a quarterback in year 2. So they did exactly what the Bucs did with Brady. They won 7 games, were a quarterback away. The difference is Tampa had a real coach in Bruce Arians. And also, Rodgers got hurt 4 plays in. Like that had a lot to do with where we are. I still believe this. If he played most of the games last year and they underachieved, Mike Vrabel might be the coach right now, and you could have maybe salvaged this season. Maybe Jim Harbaugh would consider this job if you gave him full control, if you blew it up after last year. We'll never know. NYJ writes in, I'm with Jake when it comes to the Rodgers era. What if he never went down that first game with that defense, special teams, and the way Garrett and Brees who were playing that year? What if? We'll never know. But you can't tell me this version of Rodgers, who now has 19 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. You put them on last year's Jet team, they're not 10 wins and making the playoffs. They won 7 last year with the 32nd ranked offense in the league. Last year, Greg Zuerlein didn't miss a kick. Last year, the Jets defensively allowed less than 20 points per game. I mean, this year, the Jets allowed Jacoby Brissett to stick it to them with the game on the line. They allowed Anthony Richardson to stick it to them with the game on the line. They let Geno go down the field and beat him today. Like, last year's defense doesn't allow that to happen. But no one cares. No one outside of us Jet fans cares. It's same old Jets. But the idea that Aaron ruined the team, have you been paying attention to what happened before Aaron? This team has not made the playoffs since 2010. It's not like they were, the Kansas City Chiefs, and then they brought in Rodgers, and now they're bad. I mean, come on. More of your calls right now, and then we're going to start to wind down this show. We're 2 hours in. I already did 90 minutes of radio. I'm losing my mind. Beyond Broadway is up next. Hello, Beyond Broadway.
Hey, Jake. How are you?
What's up, Bob? Bob is the author of the book is actually called Beyond Broadway, right? About the 60
Beyond
Jets.
Broadway Joe.
There you go.
You said something the other day. I was listening in on the afternoon, and I was half asleep and half awake, but you said something that was very true. Once you see the Jets win the Super Bowl, the rest of your life will be fine. And I saw them win the Super Bowl in 1969. So nothing that I see now shocks me. Didn't see the first half today. I was at a party, checked in a couple of times for people who were watching, and I saw it was 14-0, and I went, oh, no, come on. You got to lose this game. We don't want to win this game.
You're rooting for
And
losses?
then slowly,
I can't root against them.
you know what? I just hope beyond hope every year that they'll have somebody who knows what they're doing as far as drafting players, because the organizations that are out there, the Pittsburghs and the Philadelphias and the like, seem to have the touch. They seem to be able to identify the guys who.
Well, they also
are
have
difference
coaching too,
makers.
though. That's part. Like the Jets have drafted some pretty good players the last couple of years. They missed
Oh,
on some.
they have. They have. Obviously, Douglas had that one fantastic year that, except for maybe 65, was the greatest draft the Jets have ever had. Because in 65, they got Namath, Verlin Biggs, Jim Hudson, George Sauer Jr., and Buffalo drafted Al Atkinson, who was a star linebacker with the Jets later. They had nowhere to play him, so they put him on waivers, and the Jets.
I don't know if you can count Namath though. He was a signing.
No, but he had to be drafted. They had to make a trade to get him. The Jets had the second pick in the draft that year. Houston had the first. And as I point out in my book, because I talked to people about it,
Weren't the rules different though then? Because they had to convince him to play in the AFL over the NFL.
That too.
Yeah.
First, they had to get his rights, and then they had to convince him. And so Houston really wanted to sign him. In fact, Houston's coach, Sammy Baugh, who had been the Titans coach before, was telling the owner of the Houston, Bud Adams, this guy's going to be great. But Namath talked to Adams and said, I want to play in New York, Chicago, or LA. I'm really not interested in playing anywhere else. And then came the money. And Namath, as he has told the story many, many times, got offered $100,000 or something by the Cardinals who had drafted him. And Namath's agent came back and said, well, we're thinking more like $200,000 as a multi-year contract. And he wants a fancy sports car, and he wants his brother and uncle, whatever, to get jobs with the franchise. And the Cardinals went, oh my God. And at that point, a lot of people don't know it, but the Cardinals talked to the New York Giants, and the Giants said, okay, you negotiate for us. And if you can make the deal, we'll sign Namath after he agrees to sign with you. So it actually ended up being the Jets and the Giants who were competing for him. Namath found out about it before he signed with the Jets, and that was one of the last reasons why he did decide to sign with the Jets, because he thought that he wasn't dealing straight up with people.
Well,
but I had a
hopefully
couple
they can
of
find
things.
the next Joe Namath in this year's draft. How about that?
No, and I disagree with you about Milroe. Whenever I see Milroe, I see a guy's got a great arm who's scatter-armed. And I've also read, you read about all these guys, so who really knows that he's not a great decision maker, doesn't read defenses that well.
What they said about Lamar Jackson. Interesting.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. And, I have a friend who went to Louisville who watches all the Louisville games, and he was telling me the year that Lamar Jackson got drafted, he's going to go way down in the draft, but that kid can really play. And obviously he doesn't have a great arm, but he has great leadership skills, and he knows what he's doing. I had a couple of notes here I wanted to throw your way. First of all, about the special teams coach Boyer. It seems to me year to year, and I think you understand this well, your special teams are only as good as the guys that you have on your squad. And it's a rotation because every year rookies come in and they have to show that they can play really good special teams in order to, make the team. Now, obviously the kicking has been abysmal. I mean, that's just, they haven't been this bad again since it was the Titans. The Titans had a defensive lineman kicking field goals because they had nobody else. But I think the coverage on the downfield hasn't been that great either on the punts. And that's because a lot of the rookies, that are there who may not be that adept at that. The other thing, you keep talking about Vrabel. And I have a friend who's a huge Tennessee Titan fan, and I'm going to talk to him about Vrabel. But, Keith Carter was his offensive line coach for multiple years. Yeah. He got fired after Vrabel got fired. And Keith Carter's reputation in Tennessee was just terrible.
No, I think he got fired the year before Vrabel got fired because Saleh hired him.
You might. Well, he's been with the Jets, for 2 years?
Vrabel hasn't coached since the 2023 season.
So,
right? So last
2
year.
Years. He's been with the Jets for 2 years. And when did Vrabel get fired from Tennessee? Around that same time?
No, last year. So that's what I'm saying.
Oh, last year. Okay. Well, Keith Carter is. I've been surprised at how decent the offensive line has been this year. I guess talent will win out in the end because his coaching is not supposed to be anything special. You were talking to Tannenbaum, and I listened to that earlier this afternoon. Is the concept, which is the normal concept, that you're going to hire a GM first, and then the GM is going to select the coach. But in this case, it's going to be Team 33 plus the GM that they recommend who will hire the coach. Is that how you would understand it?
Well, I think they get a GM in place, and then the coach will come in. Or they'll get a GM in place who obviously will have a major say. But I think the 33rd team will have a recommendation on candidates they'll potentially speak to. I think it's unclear. I don't think we know. When I asked Tannenbaum that question, basically it was open-ended. Let's say they really want Mike Vrabel. He's their guy they want to go after. There's no scenario where they talk with Mike Vrabel and they say, hey, who are some GM candidates you think you'd work well with, and they interview those guys? I don't think we know. But until they get it right, none of this changes. Let's say hello to Rob, the Jet fan. Hello, Rob.
Hey, Jake. Disgusting loss again, of course, as usual.
What else is new, Rob?
What else is new, buddy?
It's what we do, baby.
It's what we do. But, I mean, yeah, I think you're right. Like, if Tannenbaum and Spielman were good with Vrabel, there might be an exception that they would hire or possibly hire Vrabel first, and then they would go to Vrabel and say, hey, you know what? Give me 3 or 4 GMs here that you're interested in, or your top 2. He's that good of a coach that you have to allow for that exception. A head coach like that commands respect and has been very successful in the league, you make those exceptions, and you don't have to hire necessarily the GM first. I think this is the one time, or maybe, obviously another really good head coach, that you would make the exception. So I agree with you there. But as far as Peter Castro, I love you, buddy, but please, buddy, stop. Please stop. Stop with the. I know you're not going to agree with me with this, Jake, but I don't want Flores. I really don't. He had too much trouble and issues with people. I don't think he's a bad coach. It's not that I think he's a bad coach, but I think he had a lot of issues with people in the locker room, especially obviously the quarterback. He was really nasty to him and stuff. I'm not a fan of his. And worse than that, Jake, worse than that is, please, I don't want Justin Fields. I don't want to sit there for a year, bridge quarterback, and it's Justin Fields. Because you know what? Let's be honest. Pittsburgh, okay, he was 4-2 when he left Pittsburgh and Russell Wilson came in. Okay, not a bad record. But we know that Tomlin finds ways to win. He makes you look good. Now you got Russell Wilson. They are 5-1 since Russell Wilson took over. They beat Cincinnati 44-38, which on his best day would probably 2 games combined. Let's be honest. Justin Fields would have never put up numbers like 29-38, 76%, 414 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception is what everyone thought of Russell Williams was 100% done, cooked, right? Everyone thought this. And look at the way he's playing with Tomlin. I mean, I'm like, it's remarkable how Tomlin
coaching matters.
Yeah.
Coaching matters. But I disagree with you on Flores. I mean, the guy's last 2 years in Miami, he had a winning season. 9-8, 10-6. And what has Tua done since? He puts up great stats, and then they play any good team with
regular season numbers. You have to say regular season numbers.
So, like, I mean, like, okay, he was hard on Tua. Maybe he's learned from that too. By the way, he also had a year under Mike Tomlin, and he's been one of the best defensive coordinators in the league the last 2 years. Plus, he has experience. He has experience.
Okay, I don't mind that.
So if you can't get Mike Vrabel, who I know is your number one guy, and you don't want Brian Flores, who else would be a coach that you'd actually want then?
I tell you, I want Vrabel. I told you this already.
Right, but you say you can't get Mike Vrabel.
Outside of Vrabel, who would I want? I would take a chance on Monken. I think I would take a chance on him, Jake. Gruden, I'm kind of 50-50 with. I'm a little scared that he's been out of the league for a little while. When he came back the second time around, he didn't look great. Look, like everyone was saying, he looked a little suspect. So I'm a little scared with Gruden. I will be honest, and I definitely don't want sexy Rexy, please. So now, as far as like bridge quarterbacks, I'd be more inclined for someone like Andy Dalton, someone like that. I really don't want to see Jameis Winston because he throws too many picks, and I don't want, like I said, I don't want Justin Fields. Another thing, it figures because you know what? If we finish in the top 4, Jake, we're going to have a chance to get one of these top quarterbacks. And I tell you, I'm not excited about this quarterback crew. Not Cam Ward or Deion Sun. I don't like these guys at all. I agree with the big man, the big fellow. Excuse me. I would throw a dart on Jackson Dart from Ole Miss. He's a gunslinger, 26 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. I mean, I would take a shot at him. And you could probably get him in the second round. You probably would not have to waste a first-round pick on him. Take this guy in the second round or high up in the late end of the first. And then you know what? Get a D lineman. There's a lot of good D linemen coming out. The way who was that guy you were speaking to? It doesn't seem like the draft is too thick with players this year. It looks like it's going to be like, a couple of heavy on each line. It doesn't look like it's a great draft this year. So I would definitely probably go for Jackson Dart in the second round, go for a D lineman, and obviously add another wide receiver because I don't think Devontae is going to be around. Let's be honest.
No, we got a lot of time. We got a lot of time till then. I don't know about the draft yet. I don't know where they're picking. I don't know who the top quarterbacks are, nor do I really want to talk about it right now. I got to be honest. It's December 1st. I can't do draft strategy right now. If there's a quarterback a new GM likes, I'm always on board with taking one because you got to hit on one, and your best chance to do it is still in the first round. Despite all the people who say take one or take 2 or 3, go through the top quarterbacks in the league right now. I would say 80. We'll probably do this at some point. in the offseason, I would say at least 80% of the best quarterbacks in the league were taken in the first round. Off the top of my head, Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Lamar, all first-round quarterbacks. Herbert, first-round quarterback. You know, you have some exceptions. Jalen Hurts was a second-rounder. Dak Prescott was a fourth-rounder. Kirk Cousins was a fourth-rounder. I'm just thinking of starters now. But most of the top quarterbacks were first-round picks. Kyler Murray was the first overall pick. Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, first-round picks. Like, that's typically how it goes. So you don't force it if there's someone you don't like. But I think another option for the Jets could be, all right, maybe they don't love someone in the top 10. Can they do what the Ravens did when they took Lamar and trade back into round 1 so you get the fifth-year option on a guy? We'll see. Luppy writes in, Jake, all I know about the draft is I'll be watching your show and calling in again. It's a tradition. Drunk Luppy during the draft stream. There's nothing like it, folks. God. Jet it out. Gruden's career was made off the Tony Dungy made roster. I think you got to give Gruden a little more credit for that, but he hasn't been a successful head coach in a long time. Long time. Luppy says, chances Tannenbaum recommends himself. He's already said he doesn't want the job, but that'd be funny. Going full Dick Cheney on the Jets. More of your calls. Ladies and gentlemen, Neil is up next. Hey, Neil. Neil, why can't I hear you?
You hear me now?
Hold
Wait.
on. Let's adjust your mic. All right, go ahead.
You hear me?
Yes.
You hear me now?
Yes. Are you going all David on us? Get a little closer?
There we go. Very disappointed.
Were you there today?
I sold my tickets for over $100 a piece.
Really?
Yeah. I put them on Ticketmaster. I got $100 a piece. You know, don't forget my seats are great seats, but I'm sure a devoted Seattle fan paid $400 for my seats. I took my grandkids to see Santa, and I got back before the game started because, you know, I will never miss a snap. That's my kudo. And a couple of comments. You know, Aaron Rodgers, we tried. You know, like you said, there were no options. And he's on the back end of his career. I mean, I'm sure if you ask Devontae Adams what his thoughts are on Aaron Rodgers in secret, he'd probably say, you know, he's not the same quarterback as he was when he played with me in Green Bay. I mean, it's pretty safe to say. And, you know, we got a true look at him today. I thought with the movement, he clearly had movement. He clearly was healthy. And he moved around the pocket well, even ran a little bit. And, you know, but when it came down to it, he just didn't have the confidence in the staying, you know, to let things develop. You know, when he overthrew Garrett in the end zone, you know, he rushed. He always seems a little bit rushed. He doesn't seem confident in his ability to, you know, do that. But this looked like the Keystone Cops out there today. I mean, the defense, the penalties, you know, the way they lose games. It's like, you know, my heart can't take it much more. I got to tell you something. I was in disbelief. Not that I don't expect it, but even when you see it with the breaks we got early in the game and everything happening, and it's just disheartening. It really, really is. But I have a thought, you know, what our quarterback room should look like. You know, I really don't want to pick a quarterback in this draft. I just don't. You know, I don't see. It sounds like there's really nobody out there that's really, you know, a ready-made guy. But, you know, if you get, let's think about this a second. We got Adrian Gonzalez on the practice squad who looked really good in preseason. He's a running.
Martinez. He's not playing. He's not playing.
Hang on. Let me just say, he runs and throws the ball, and he did look very good in preseason. And you got Tyrod Taylor, who also could run, who basically has a run pass option type of scenario, you know, looking at what we need to do in the quarterback position. And I'd rather take a guy like Justin Fields, who could run with the ball, throws short passes. I know his long ball. Hey, look, he was 2-1 when Pittsburgh took him out, right? What was the record when they
He was
took
actually
him out?
better than that. He was 4-2. If you told me Justin Fields, Jordan Travis, and a rookie is the quarterback room next year, I'm open. I'm open to it. I honestly, I would try and think a little bigger than that, but we'll see.
I just think that we have to customize a quarterback room that is going to be able to come into the game and be seamless into what our game plan is. So if we have one running quarterback and he goes down, you have to put another running quarterback in to keep the offensive scheme the similar way that it is.
How do we know
Right
they're going to be a running offense next year, though? We don't even know who the head coach is.
I get it, but what we have to do is keep a consistency, is what I'm saying. If we have an offensive coordinator that puts a scheme together, it has to be a consistent quarterback that comes in and backs up. And we have Tyrod in house, so maybe to get somebody that is more of a running quarterback. I mean, look at Drake May.
But Tyrod's a pocket passer. He's not a runner. He's athletic. He can move a little bit, but he's a guy who's going to stand in the pocket and throw downfield.
No, I look at this is what I hope. I look at Denver and I look at what a good head coach does and what he does and how he manages Drake May, who, started out, dinking and dunking, and they're really a defensive team. And that's how they geared themselves to win ball games. And they're actually doing it. And they're in the mix. I don't say they're going to win a Super Bowl, but they're certainly doing whatever they need to do. They're sound fundamentally, and their players look ready to play every week. One of the main things that I think is a problem for us is our guys are not in shape. I mean, when you have multiple players go down in a game with cramps, that means they're not physically fit enough to withstand an entire game of playing. I mean, and then when you don't run down a 300-pound lineman for a 99-yard run, and I didn't see anybody in the picture except for Elijah Vera-Tucker running him down, who can't catch him. Did you see anybody in that play within 20 yards of Leonard Williams trying to tackle him?
No,
I didn't.
No, I mean, look, to be fair, though, it's kind of a weird play, right? Where, like, the entire offense was shaded the other way, and then,
okay, but,
that happens. Like, the only time we saw someone, like, on a similar play chase down the defender was Devontae against Pittsburgh in his first game.
Right. But now, I'll give you an example. Quentin Williams made a couple plays in the beginning of the game, and then he came out of the game because he was, like, out of breath. Like, he had to come back to the sideline.
Or they rotate him, which makes no sense. Max Crosby, by the way, played 100% of the snaps for the Raiders on Black Friday. 100%. 100%. Why are our best players not on the field more? Makes no I understood the rotation when they had a bunch of guys that it made sense to do it, and it was working. You couldn't argue with the results. They were a top 3 defense 2 years in a row. This year, why isn't Reddick, McDonald, Quinnen, why aren't they out there almost every play at this point? I don't need to watch Solomon Thomas or Javon Kinlaw or Michael Clemens or any of these guys who won't be here next year.
Right. Not to mention the fact that we're still doing the same 4-man rush, 4 light guys rushing, giving Geno time to diagnose the field and not having any fear of getting hit. And that happened in a lot of plays today, and that gave him that extra time to, because you can't cover good receivers for more than 3 seconds or 4 seconds, regardless of how good you are. And I didn't see anything, where they blitzed. There was no blitzing. There was no corner blitz. There was no creativity on the defensive side of the ball as well. And that, I think, had a lot to do with it. I mean, we couldn't make any big plays, any splash plays. And that's part of the reasoning behind the defense. And again, this is another game where we don't force any turnovers. We just don't get turnovers. We don't smack the ball out. We did it on special teams, and that's a player who hasn't even played that smacked the ball out of the guy's arm on the kickoff. Every player should be trying to knock the ball out when they make a tackle. I think of Quincy Williams. They asked him, what's your best play? And he talked running over the quarterback last week. Well, that was a great play with Kyle Murray, but the ball was on the ground and he's running by the guy, celebrating and doing a dance. In the meantime, the ball was on the ground and they're not rallying to the ball or trying to create a turnover. These are some of the things that just makes no sense to me from the standpoint of, their ability to create and rally. They did rally around the ball today more than I saw in a lot of previous games. They rallied around the ball. Will McDonald, great game, 2 sacks. He played the run a little bit better. But, again, it's just a comedy of mistakes, and it's all coaching. I mean, let's face it.
I mean,
Any
12
other
penalties, 8 of them in the fourth quarter, 4 on the game-winning drive by Seattle. Like, it's like good, well-coached teams don't fall apart. The Jets have had leads in the fourth quarter in 4 of their losses this year. Like, I had a stat I bookmarked to say earlier, and I forgot I bookmarked it. The Jets, in their losses this year, they have 6 one-score losses this season by an average of 3.17 points. With better coaching, they do definitely have a couple more wins right now. There's no doubt. And that's with below-average quarterback play for most of this year, a defense that certainly has not been close to what we thought they were going to be. They've been bad since Salah's been fired. Let's call it for what it is. And obviously, the kicking game alone has cost them at least 1 to 2 games. So it's so frustrating. But it's why I do think it can be turned around and they can be competitive next year with the right coaching staff. I don't know who that coach is, but that guy's out there. You got to find him.
Look, we have the roster is still a good roster. It just needs to be better coached. I'll give you an example of today with Yulbricht, to quote my friend Peter. There's a minute left in the half, and we have all 3 of our timeouts, and Seattle's faced with a 3rd and 6, and we let the clock run out. Come on, man. That's not that shows that you have no confidence in your defense. You have a chance there to get some momentum back to end the half, and instead we let them dictate the way the half ended, and we had 3 timeouts in our pocket. You should never have 3 timeouts in your pocket when you stop a team back at I think they were at the 24-yard line or something, Jake.
They would have had the ball at like their own 45-yard line, and they didn't use any of the timeouts. They took all 3 timeouts into the locker room.
Yeah, but before that is what I'm saying. They ate a minute up just waiting for that 3rd down play where we could have called the timeout and had a minute and 46.
That's what I'm saying.
Right. We could have had over a minute with 2 timeouts, and we had the ball when we got it on the 40-yard line or 45, whatever. There's a chance at least to pick up a field goal, have a little momentum going into the half, and who the hell knows, maybe get 3 points, maybe throw a deep ball and get a penalty, something. But to go in with that kind of attitude, it just was – there's confidence with him last week, then he's not confident this week. I mean, he's just when you don't have confidence in your team and your defense in particular, you really put yourself at a huge disadvantage. And that was one of the biggest coaching blunders there. And then you add all the penalties and everything else on top of it. It was like something that it just was a new way to lose here. I mean, Seattle did everything possible to allow us to run up the score in that game. And again, 1 more touchdown, the Garrett catch, the pick 6 for 90 yards. And, we get up 3 scores on them. And
this team's soft. I mean, the Rodgers miscue with Garrett and then the pick was the turning point. But that shouldn't be the reason you collapse. And they didn't score again after that. They should have been up 28-7. We all watched it. But that doesn't justify an entire half of football where you don't score any points. That's insane.
And I want to give JJ a lot of credit. Look, guys trash on JJ, but you got to understand something. The guy went to the game today.
Yeah, no, I love JJ. I just think he always goes too far with the revisionist history. I think
holder. He's not a armchair quarterback here. The guy goes to the game, going to a game in the freezing ass cold today. Here's something I got texted to me. You know who that guy is. Look.
Oh, the jet plane guy. Yes.
Look at him get up. Look, this poor bastard. He's been going to games longer than me. He shakes his head, has to get up, get into the car, and fight traffic to get all the way home on a holiday weekend. Jesus Christ, we really deserve so much better than what we get here. It's not even funny. And
nine straight losing seasons. They can't even have a winning season, let alone make the playoffs.
And Gator, Gator is a Rodgers guy. We were all Rodgers guys. I mean, this guy got chance when he walked out in practice, and just watching him, was exciting for us. So it was an exciting chapter. Again, I don't know what options we'll even have at this point. But another thing that really was puzzling. There were at least 3 throws that Rodgers made where there were 2 receivers in the same area.
Right.
One play, he was trying to throw to Devontae Adams, and Breece Hall ran inside and missed the ball. He was right in the same line of sight as Devontae Adams on a touchdown throw. I mean, and then the other one with, Gibson tackling Garrett Wilson on the sideline when this is just like, those are things that never, ever, ever should happen, especially in the 12th game of the season. You're having blunders on where guys should be. So one thing we have to think about here is Rodgers expects guys to be in certain positions and expects guys to be where they're supposed to be. How many of the bad throws and incompletions does Rodgers have, not as a result of his poor throwing, but as a result of guys not being where they're supposed to be?
Well,
that is a question that we really, you know what I'm saying?
It's too late. It's too late. He had the opportunity. They tried it. You got to move on.
But we'll see what happens. Like I said, I'm always here. I'm never going to be, you'll never catch me pessimistic. We onward and upward, and that's it. We're the team that's got to take the mountain with a few people. We don't have an army here like Pittsburgh and all these other teams. We have a little club, and that little club, we're like the little engine that could. We have to get there eventually, but we're not going to do it with a completed staff and coaching and general manager. Right now, we don't have that. Can we get it? Yeah, I have faith. And, everybody that trashes Woody Johnson, let's be real here. The guy wants to win. If I was the owner of the team, and I'm sure other guys would agree with me, 2 and 3, you fire Saleh, right? Jeff Saturday came in interim. I would have put Rex in there. Let Ulbrich stay DC. Put Rex in to create a spark. Now that would have at least created a spark in the team, Jake. Don't you agree?
Oh, yeah. You know what time it is. You tried to throw him away, but this man's coming back. Sometimes he's fat or thin. That waistband makes him slim. He's got the fix you need. They call him sexy. Rexy.
Fuck Gruden, he's no Jet. I'm here to crack some skulls. I'll turn these boys to men. This team is stacked with pros. Hire me, you won't break your purse. I'm here to break the curse. They call me Sexy Rexy. Fuck all you naysayers.
Ooh, sexy. Ooh, he's sexy Rexy. Sexy. Ooh, he's sexy Rexy. Sexy. Ooh, he's sexy Rexy. Sexy. Ooh, he's sexy Rexy.
Neil, thank you. A record 700 points were made. Got a couple people left. 2.5 hours of post game. And we got a fun one for you right now. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us live on their way back up to Vermont is...
Hi, everybody. This is Bob from Vermont. I am Bob, of course. Hi, Jake. How you doing?
Bobby!
How you guys doing out there?
Bobby, how was the game?
Doing? Oh, we had fun. All our friends had fun. The Jets suck. Hey, can I do something for my friend Addison today?
Yeah, happy birthday, Addie. I met Addison yesterday at Alden's.
Yeah, I got excited when I met him. Tell you.
It was awesome meeting you yesterday with Bonesy at Alden's.
Yeah. Can I sing happy birthday to him, please?
You got
sing it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Here we go, Bobby.
Here we go.
Yeah, let's go.
Bob. First ever in-person happy birthday performance.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's true. No, I did.
Bobby,
Go.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday
birthday to you. Happy birthday to Addison. Happy birthday to you. And I hope you had a great day.
I sure did, Bobby.
How's that, Jake?
Tremendous, Bob. Well done.
Thank you very much.
I love it.
Guess what? Guess what, Jake? They got me the golf cart and wheelchair again.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, well, at least the Jets did something right today.
No, Nate and Nick and other people helped me out. We met Hank G, too. You know Hank G?
I know Hank G, sure.
Yeah, we met him live.
Did you have a good time at the tailgate?
What?
Did you have a good time at the tailgate?
Oh, well, we ate at, we
had bagels, Bobby.
We had bagels.
Oh.
Mine got cold because I took too much. And we had some ayahuasca and some two screwdrivers. And we have fun. And Nate's driving great. I tell you, if you ever want to go to a trip, call Nate. He'll drive.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. The guy who grew up in Manhattan.
About 11:45, Jake. Bobby Midnight Express will arrive.
11:45, Bobby Midnight back in Vermont. All right.
Yeah, we got to get the car back by 2 a.m., so I'm literally shoving him out the door, and then we're out. It's a race against time, Jake.
Well, Addison,
Wish us
happy
luck.
birthday. Nate, safe driving. And Bobby, I'm glad you had a phenomenal time. Unfortunately, the Jets couldn't get a win, but that's okay because you were there to experience it all.
Got it down to 20 things next time. 20 subjects, okay?
Ladies and gentlemen.
You got a lot of things today, okay? I love Neil, though. You know I love Neil. I love Neil sometimes. Well, have a great day, guys.
Now that looks like a car ride unlike any other. Let me say. I want everyone to know Nate, parentheses Nate, rented a car that he picked up at 1 o'clock in the morning today, 1 a.m. today. Drove it up to Vermont this morning. Got to Bobby's place at 5 in the morning. Picked up Bobby, drove him to MetLife, and is now driving him back up to Vermont. That's how incredible of a human being Nate and Addison are for doing that drive. After a brutal loss, too. Sarah writes in, imagine being in that car. I know Bobby's imagining you in that car, Sarah. That's for sure. That is for sure. Shout out to Nate, though. What a great guy, giving Bobby an awesome experience. Ladies and gentlemen, before we wrap, we'll take more of your calls. We have a very special guest who's on the line right now. Originally, I thought he would be making the trip up to Vermont with the two people who just joined us, but he actually had some car problems this morning, so we couldn't join him.
Welcome, my friends. It's a shine time. Shine time. It's time to talk about the Jets. Don't you know it's shine time? Shine time. It's shine time. Time to be with my friends. Hey, have you seen my toe?
Hello, Nick.
I texted you and you tell me you got 2 callers left, and you didn't tell me it was Neil who was taking every possible Jets point that could be made. And then we get a mobile birthday song by Bobby. How respectfully, my friend, how the fuck do you expect me to follow that?
Well,
I'm handcuffed.
Well, tell us about the game day experience today. What was it like?
Tremendous. Jay Graves came up. We traveled up. We picked up Rob V and Jay Quest, and then we picked up Hank G at the hotel. We got over to Gotham tailgate early, and then Addison, Clancy, Bobby, Nate, Weed rolled up. Tom Ace showed up. Funny story. So Bobby's never seen Tom Ace's face, right? It's something that you and I both know. He's like, Tom, I want to see your face. I've never seen your face. We come up with last night on the Discord at like 3 a.m, talking to Clancy, Nate, and Addison as they're driving up to Vermont. I was like, we got to do this. We got to pretend Tom is somebody else. And then it ends up, Tom walks up and like introduces himself to me and says, Nick, oh, I know your show. I watch your show. And I don't know if you know me. I'm like, oh, who are you? And he goes, oh, I'm South End Auto Detailing. And anyone who knows how much Bobby hates South End. Oh, South End's? Get out of here. You know, he's not allowed here. Get rid of him. Bobby's going nuts. We're all dying. And finally he just goes, Bobby, it's Tom Ace. Oh, I like you. You're a good guy. You could stay. Like Bobby, we propped him up in the chair. And just like last time, I had a table there. He's holding court. He's in the chair. Breaking news. The orange chair isn't orange.
What color?
Bobby's camera at home is so bad. It's a salmon colored chair. It's not orange. It's not even close to orange.
Wow.
We were all stunned. We're like, what is this? This is not the chair. They're like, no. That's
is Bobby colorblind? He could have corrected us at any point of the last year.
But we've all seen it. It looks orange with the camera. I guess the camera and the computer it did not. Or we're all colorblind. But it's not an orange chair. It's a salmon colored chair. I'll send you the picture. Our minds were blown by it. But
that is remarkable.
Down, he's got a drink in his hand and a blunt in his mouth within 30 seconds of being in the chair. And then
the ayahuasca?
They just took off. I believe it ventured over to him at some point. But there was a lot of that going around. And the day was great. The people are better. And, you can't put a price tag on all the, as you know, all the friendships, relationships, and connections that you make in this community. And I say it all the time. If this team was ever as good as this fan base, we would never lose a game. You know, the fact that they drove up to Vermont and left at 1 a.m. and they're bringing him back up today to help him get down here to be a part of Addison's birthday. How do you quantify that in life? You know what I mean? How do you put a price tag on the decent human beings and the love that we have for one another in this community? You can't.
It's the best fan base in sports. I've said it, and 100%. I've never been more sure of it because, I'm 2 hours and 45 minutes into a post-game show talking about a 3-9 football team, and there's still, 1,000 people tuned in. It's insane.
You know what? It was cool that for those Hank G, Addison, Bobby coming down, that we had those 3 touchdowns. We had that excitement with the crowd, and then it just went away. And at least they got that enjoyment, right? Even though we didn't get to enjoy the last 2.5 quarters, they got that enjoyment of seeing some quality football for just a little moment in time.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, right? Like the losses don't sting as much as they normally do this time of year because you've already accepted what this season is. It's a failed season, and in the long run, maybe this loss will lead to a great player that they get that they wouldn't have been able to get if they won today. You never know.
Yeah, I owe you a membership because, as you know, I support you with both of my YouTube accounts.
And, here it is right here. Nick Shine, everybody.
Yesterday, so I owe you one.
David Sadowski just received the membership gifted.
Congratulations, David. Welcome to the greatest show on earth. Yeah, it's wild. It's wild. Like 3-9 with Aaron Rodgers starting every game, we would have all died laughing. You would have sent people to the shadow realm time and time again. If anyone came on here and said 3-9, Rodgers is playing every game, you would have banned them from the channel. We all would have looked at that person and said, you are the worst takes. You are the worst football person we've ever heard of our entire life. And here we are.
Well, it's just insane. Like, once again, if I would have told a Jet fan before the year, hey, Rodgers would not miss a single snap due to injury this year. He would have 19 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, and the Jets would have, at this point, they would have played 12 games. Would you say their record is closer to 9-3 or 3-9? And I think everyone, even if you hate the Jets, probably said well, obviously 9-3. They're not going to be 3-9 with this talent, and somehow they're 3-9. It's a nightmare.
And when you get a chance to watch the All 22, anybody, please pay attention to this. On the Leonard Williams interception, I gave more effort and Bobby gave more effort on trying to go track him down than Garrett Wilson did. Garrett Wilson, when he scored, was still at the 15-yard line, just walked into the sideline. Now, it was the other side of the field. I get it. But you watch other teams give that effort. You watch DK Metcalf chase somebody down a couple years ago when there was no chance, right? Yep. He divided the odds and did it because he cared. Watching Garrett walk off the field, that's disheartening to see. Rodgers' quality of play, missing guys wide open. He had Conklin and Garrett open to the left, never looked there, threw it right to Williams. He's done. He's done. And we keep saying, you and I and others keep saying, well, if he plays well the next couple of weeks, it's not happening.
No, and it wasn't even it was really this game today, right? Because it's like if he's not going to be healthy in this game today and look good against a mediocre defense, off a bye, at home, facing a team that's coming cross country, like I'm not putting any stock into like a great game against the Jaguars now. Like, you know what I mean? Like you really needed to see today, and he moved a little better, right? He was mobile. He was throwing a block on the Corley trick play, but it didn't matter. The accuracy wasn't there, and that's the last thing I thought he would ever not have.
Yeah, they rolled him out a couple times. They had him on the move. It looked good. It looked refreshing, right? Like, okay, finally, what they're saying, we're seeing it match. Not, we had a good week of practice. No. Every time he's in the pocket, you feel like, oh, crap, he's going to get leveled. They got to move the pocket to get him confident to throw the ball. They did do a couple things I've been asking for. They did air it out downfield several times, so they did open it up a little bit. But I don't know, man. It's tough to watch as somebody who's been such a huge fan of Rodgers for so long. It's really, really tough to watch this, and there was a tweet during the game. The first two drives, we had 2 touchdowns, 107 yards, or the first 2 scoring drives, we had 107 yards. We had 108 yards, like up until that final drive after that. Like there was nothing. They figured out what we were doing and they stopped it. The penalties, self-inflicted wounds, lining up in the neutral zone, Adams and Wilson moving at the same time, like before the snap. Like it's so sloppy. It's so disgusting on so many levels. And it's not one guy to blame. Will McDonald, 10 sacks. Great. Good job for you. How many times are you going to line up in the neutral zone?
Right. It's insane.
You're looking in at the ball. Why can't you see it? I don't get it, man.
But like, how does that even happen this late in the year? Like, how is there not like a culture that doesn't allow that to happen? Like guys are held accountable for their mistakes and they correct it. They don't just keep making the same mistakes again and again and again.
Yeah. Did you touch on what I texted you about earlier?
I have not hit on the Fireman Ed stuff because I'm waiting to talk to Ed and get a little more info. But they didn't show him on the Jumbotron at all, correct?
They didn't. He was there at his perch, ready to go, getting the crowd up, looks up at the board, doesn't see himself, sees the other two, step down.
Something had to have happened, man.
And
they didn't show him the entire game once?
Not once. And
I wonder, I look, I'm not saying this because it's like my show or anything, but Ed comes on with me once a week. He's been very critical of the Jets. He was very critical 2 weeks ago about Woody. I wonder if that had something to do with it. I do wonder that.
I'll say something. If you are as much of a diehard fan as you say you are, it should be about cheering on the team and not stepping down because the camera's not on you. Now, that's me. That's my opinion. If you care that much, you shouldn't have to look at the board, not see yourself and say, okay, I'm not doing this at all. You should do it for the fans. You should do it for the team. You should do it for the love of cheering on the team. That's my take, not yours. I'm not putting that out there with you, but that's me. It was disheartening to see, like, he wasn't chanting defense with his helmet on third down. No attempts to get the crowd up until late in the game. Like the first 3 quarters.
They kind of neutered him, though. I mean, I get it. But like, you want him to be energetic and cheering and all that. It's like, so the defensive chants he does, that's like to get in unison the crowd to do defense.
I get it, but as somebody who cheers his head off when the camera's nowhere near me and doesn't know I exist, it's disheartening to see someone who's supposed to be leading the crowd only care about the camera and not show up when it's off of him.
Well, but he's not leading the crowd. They're not showing him.
There's still a lot of people that keep their eyes on him. Everyone in that stadium knows where he is. Everyone in that stadium knows where that helmet is, and everyone knows what he does. Everyone does. He did it for years at the old stadium with no video boards.
Yeah,
everyone knows where
I'm going to give the
is.
guy a break. He's probably shell-shocked that, for 35 years, he's leading the chant. Then they give him no notice and then just cut him out.
And I see that side of it too. But I don't know. I guess when sometimes you put people on such a perch that it's a little disheartening when they don't live up to that. You know what I mean? And that's someone who's been our lead fan, right?
Yeah, well, the Jets knifed him in the back if they just didn't give him any notice and didn't put him on. I mean, Ed will come on with us this week. We'll get his perspective on it.
Yeah, and I feel bad. Like we live in a world now where everyone gets to go share their opinions. We do it here, right? And to have him be blackballed because he gave his opinion about the team, if that is what it is, which it probably is, right? Like if Woody Johnson is going saying, Tony Adams, you can't play, he's probably saying, oh, you said something I don't like, because we know he's got his social media minions out there following every little thing. That's what you do to fan. Like, I'm not praising or saying Woody's right with this. He's wrong. Come on, man. Like, let your fans be fans. If you're 3-9 with a best roster you've ever had, expect some people to be pissed off about it. We have the right as fans to be hurt, to be angry, to be frustrated, to want better with the amount of money people pay for the seats that Ed's at. He has a right to say, this isn't right. Things need to improve. Things need to get better. What do you expect? All of your little Johnson & Johnson minions to bow down and say, oh, what do you, things are going good. It's everyone else's fault. You're the best. It's not how the world works, man. It's a results-driven business. Your results have been piss poor. You should be able to hear those words and not strike down vengeance at everybody who says that.
Yeah, I mean, if the reason why Fireman Ed is not shown at all today is because he was critical of the owner or the team, give me a break. Ed pays for his tickets like every other fan. He has every right to be critical, just like 100%. You do on your channel, me, or any Jet fan out there who's talking about the team with their friends.
100%. And it's bad, man. It's bad. Because you know what? It's another week where now this will become a major headline. And as always, it's the Jets' nonsense and drama off the field being spoken about. It's will there be a quarterback change? What's Rodgers' comment now about I'm only one of 11 out there? There's so much division, and it's only going to get worse. The more you lose, and the more you see the end of the road coming, it's going to get disgusting these next couple of weeks. It's going to be
5 games left. So yeah, I mean, look, you wonder, is there going to be a game where they completely quit? It hasn't happened yet. Like, they came out, they played today. They didn't play smart, but they played hard today, and no one can question the effort. But I mean, five games to go. There's still a lot that could happen that will be embarrassing to talk about, but they lose, they lose. It is what it is. 5 games to go. Let's see where they end up.
But Bobby's awesome to hang out with.
Bobby Midnight.
That never thought I would have on my bucket list that after the game and the whole entire upper deck emptied out, I would be pushing a wheelchair into the bathroom to help Bobby get into the handicap stall. So no matter what happened today, Jake, we got that moment in time.
Where does that rank on the list of things you've accomplished in your life?
I mean, Bobby got in the stall and out better than I expected. I didn't have to go into the stall to help him at all. So that's a big win for me today. But it's just when you hang out with Bobby, you experience a moment in time, and you experience an outer body experience at times. Like you're looking at the situation like, this is just incredible. This is wild. Like, where's this guy been my whole life? He's so much fun. He even when he's mad, he brings a smile to everyone's face. Even when he gets pissed off, he brightens up everyone around him. And we had him on the aisle, and he had trouble getting up and down. So we're lifting him under his arms, like we're picking up his jacket from behind to stand him up so people can get in and out of the row. And he's holding court, like trying, when someone goes into his chat and it's a new name and he like stops the show to talk to that one person. That's what he's doing with everybody who walked up the section by him or walked into his row. Bobby, let them go, man. We're holding you up here like a crane. Can you let them get to their goddamn seat so we can put you back down? Oh, yeah. I just wanted to say hello. We know, Bob. We know.
Nick.
Fast food reviews. It was a combination.
That's Chef Kevin. Chef Kevin, you got to change your YouTube name. Everyone's got to know you're Chef Kevin. But I love it.
It was the combination. Had to, yeah, it was both. But it was a long day. He needed to go. It's a long car ride back, so you gotta clear all the tracks before a ride back to Vermont.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Nick, great call to wrap it. I appreciate you, man.
Love you, buddy. Have a good one.
Ladies and gentlemen, Nick Shine. Check out his channel, Proud NYJ fan. Nick's going live, I think, at 9 p.m. tonight. So you can watch his show for more Jets talk. Barney, Super Chat. Brees, it was my fault. Aaron, it was windy. There's 11 other players. That's Zach Wilson level bleep. I'm done with Rodgers. Luppy gifted a channel membership earlier. Luppy, your membership went to KT. Thank you, Luppy. Appreciate you. Mr. Magoo says, go Miners. I believe you mean Niners, but yes. I mean, we got a snow game to watch at least right now. That's interesting. I could really care less. The Bills are going to win the division, whether they do it tonight or they do it next week or whatever. Brutal. Brutal. Wild show. Thank you to all who supported. Join the Patreon if you haven't. Get in our Discord. Connect with our community. That is the best in all sports. Patreon.com/Jake Asman Show. It includes access to that Discord you heard me just mention. Until the end of Cyber Monday tomorrow, when you join the Patreon, all items on the merch store are 25% off. Normally, it's just 15%. So I saw a great super chat here from Sam who says, only buying content creator merch. I will never purchase any more tickets or Jets gear till Woody sells the team. Well, Sam, if you're a Patreon member, 25% off if you want to get some Asmaniac or Jake Asman Show related hats, sweatshirts, coffee mugs, you name it, we got it. Thanks to everyone who bought merch over the weekend. Really appreciate this community's support. Couldn't do it without you. I'm back tomorrow. I got some exciting news. Normally, Beningo joins us Monday mornings. He's now joining us tomorrow at 3 p.m. So stepping up and joining us at 11 a.m. tomorrow will be Andrew Fialco, who will give us some film, give us his perspective on the state of the Jets. Thank you all for the time. I appreciate your support. My name is Jake Asman. This has been the Jake Asman Show. Please subscribe to the channel, like the video, hang in there, Jet fans. As bad as this is, and it's bad, we are all in this one together.
Just put myself in these goddamn situations.
Nah.